which we have in the future. And thereafter, we're going to bring another startup champion here. So for now, we'll start with Onyinyechi. You're welcome. No, you can just say good morning.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Onyinyechi Mecha. I'm a 300 level undergraduate of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka. I'm the co-founder and the chief executive officer of Extra Class. Extra Class is an online platform where learners, we are talking about digital skills, so that we can be digitally included. So this is a platform where if you want to learn any digital skills, not only digital skills, both academic courses, for tertiary institutions, for secondary schools and also primary schools, we have courses ranging from primary to tertiary and also professional courses. This is a platform where you can come and find an expert tutor near you who can put you through these courses. Not only that, Extra Class also provides you with a prep test engine where after having these tutoring classes with your expert tutor, you can also master these skills and subjects to know how far you have gone with these your classes. And then if you know that you are not really performing very well, we can now find a way to make sure you improve in the areas that you are lagging behind. Extra Class has an online bookstore where you can outsource educational content. Like some of us might be finding it difficult to get access to some educational content to enable us improve our knowledge productivity. So Extra Class is an online platform that will help you at the comfort of your home with your handset, your mobile phone, or your laptop. You can be able to get access to these contents. We also have an online courses. Most of us here, we have been bothering on how to take some courses, but we have enough data and subscriptions in order to boost this our knowledge. So with Extra Class, you can, at the comfort of your home, your office, where you are relaxing, and you can take, within 3 or 5 minutes, you can take some courses that can take you to the next level of your career. We are live. We launched on 1st August 2017, and we are live. You can check us out as www.extraclass.ng. Tutoring. Currently, I have been in Lagos for last month because me and some other tutors from my platform, because we had some families that have booked us for extra classes for their kids. So we have expert tutors where you can get for your kids, both undergraduates, both for primary schools, for secondary schools, for professional courses. You can get tutors there on the platform. Secondly, I have a community I'm running. Is an NGO, a non-governmental organization, because as a computer science student, while acquiring my digital skills, I found out the low participation of females in terms of tech industries, and most especially coming down to the southeastern parts of Nigeria, it's nothing to write home about. But these ladies have been, they are so innovative, and they have this special environment to put their knowledge. I formed a community which is SheTech East. We have been training young and be mentoring young females on how to build successful business, as well as engaging them with digital skills. And most of them we have trained. They are working with some companies here in Lagos, some here in Ibadan, and some at Abuja, and some even in Awka, where I base. And we have this is an annual. We have some meetups, then we have a general annual meetup. We also engage them with some startup opportunities, like we have a platform, we have an entrepreneurship startup platform, which Top Anambra, down there in Anambra State. This is the platform we partner with in order to help female startups, in order to mentor them and also teach them how to build and scale their businesses. I know that most of young persons here might be wondering, doing all the things I've been doing, it has never been easy for me. And for extra class, it was like, it's a problem I observed, most especially during my first year in university. I have been a tutor for 3 years. I'm a mathematics and a physics tutor. And during the process where I was using this, my tutoring services to pay some extra bills in my school, I was also finding it difficult to get someone I can put through in order to pay my bills. And I, as a computer scientist, thought of a way to enable solve this problem. And in the process of finding solution to my own personal problem, I found that I'm going to solve another person's problem, which during our idea validation, I found that people still in order to boost the, and that extra class in my hostel bed just with my mobile phone. So everything is possible for you to do. Everything is possible for you to build. Everything is possible for you to be digitally included. It's all about what you believe in. It's all about what you stand for. It's all about your passion. As I'm seeing young persons here, as I'm looking at young persons, I'm seeing some potential innovators here. But the only problem we have is just that we have not had enough time to think about how we can be able to be this digitally included. And sometimes we lack the skills, and that is where you can also acquire these skills through extra class, and also have some communities like this SheTech East. After acquiring these skills, you can come to a community, if you are a female, like the SheTech East, and come to a community where you can get mentorship about what entrepreneurship is all about, what building a business is all about, how starting up, how is it, and how you can push forward no matter the challenges. I urge every one of us here, if you are a teacher, you are a professor, to enable us youth, because it has not been easy for me. Firstly, assessing funding to push my startup, it has not been easy for me. And being a female founder, and the place I'm coming from, the Southeastern, there is not really that much opportunity for tech, for startup to grow. But by the grace of God, I've been coming to Lagos more often to get some entrepreneurship education, some mentorship before the Startup Anambra community started. So I urge every one of us, in any way you can help us build this startup. You can help youth around, encourage someone, encourage a student of yours to build something awesome, and also encourage yourself to push forward, most especially the youth. I think we have a smarter city, smarter person, and when we talk about digital inclusion, as the digital world is evolving, we will also be transformed altogether. I thank everyone for this opportunity, and I'm to see everyone being included with extra class. So just try extra class out today, and you will see some thank you very much.
Can we put our hands together for her? Thank you, Inyechi. Extra class, I'm sure a lot of us are checking it out, and you can equally encourage her if there are things that you think they need to improve on. You can encourage her on that. A key arm of Nigeria Computer Society is Nigeria Association of Computer Science Students. A lot of us pass through that mentoring platform, so to say. And we have some of these students doing great things today. And we have, they've come together across the 6 geopolitical zones to launch what they call Startup Knackers. And they have for East, West, South, North. So they have a tool called AgroSmarty. AgroSmarty is an app that brings together farmers in their locality to potential buyers as well as. So it contains a lot of things. We have in our midst the national president of Nigeria Association of Computer Science Students, Abolade Akintomiwa. You here? Please come on. Please, let's put our hands together for him. He's going to be talking to us about AgroSmarty, what this tool is meant to do, and the opportunities that are equally available with this. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Abolade Akintomiwa Mayowa, an undergraduate, a computer science and engineering student of Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, currently in 500 level. First and foremost, I want to appreciate Nigeria Association of Computer Science Students, Nigeria Computer Society for this platform given to me to share ideas and what we are into. Nigeria Association of I will start from our body. Nigeria Association of Computer Science Students is an association that belongs to all Nigerian students studying computer science and any ICT-related course in Nigeria. And this association has grown years after years from its past achievements. It has grown fully well to having over 350,000 registered students on our, 350,000 registered members. But then we believed we can do better than that. We can't just be an association that keeps growing based on membership base, but then we can also be an association that has something to showcase. We can also be an association that leverage on ICT, because youth are digital armies who is going to liberate the world from apparent skill deficiencies. Now, that is why we now came up with a startup. It has never happened in NACOS before because it is just an association. Now, sincerely speaking, what brought about this startup is we noticed the environment is changing. There is startup this, startup that. Nobody is sitting down. So which simply means NACOS cannot sit down. And so we floated out a startup called Startup NACOS, which is present in all the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. We have Startup Southwest, Startup Northeast, Startup Northwest, all the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. So we came together as, we have developers all around, so we came together to solve a solution. And the solution is called AgroSmarty. Now, AgroSmarty is an agricultural ecosystem solution that provides, that creates a platform for every individual, most especially farmer, to give us their planting activities, what they are interested in. Probably you are a farmer that plants, that is interested in planting maize, cassavas, yam, potatoes, and so on. So all you just need is download the application and make use of it. Now on the platform, like I said, it is an ecosystem where we have a farmer, a vendor, a broker, and an extension agent. Now the duty of a farmer is whether you are illiterate or you are not illiterate. Now let me talk at the aspect of being a literate farmer. Now you just take the application, you are interested in planting a maize. Shows is an artificial intelligence application. I forgot to tell you that. Now, because it monitors every farmer's activities and their local terrain, their territory, their terrain, where they grow their crops. Now, you tell us your application, you tell us your, what you are planting, maize. Okay, you are planting it by March. When is your expected harvest? It is by August. It's 4 months' time. Even if you are not specifying it automatically because it is artificial intelligence supported, it will grow, the system automatically notes the period to which every planting season of every crops is being noted. Now, after the 4th month, I'm giving an instance, after the 4th month, the vendors will be notified, oh, this particular farmer is having a crop in a particular location. Interested individual or interested vendor should reach out to this person. Now, but then, there's an interface between the farmer and the vendor, the extension agent. We created this extension agent module so as to create an employment or to solve an unemployment issue. Now, anyone can be an extension agent. An extension agent is just an individual who guides the farmer on how to carry out the farming activities. Now, such individual must be an expertise in agricultural management. Yes, and this extension agent, we pay the extension agent, yes. AgroSmarty pays the extension agent. How do we pay the extension agent? We pay you based on the activities or the work you do from the farmer's end. Now, you are monitoring 4 farmers. You are in charge of 4 farmers. We believe for every year, some crops are annual crops, biannual crops, or perennial crops. Now, we believe every year, at least a farmer plants, or most of these farmers from our service. Sorry, I forgot to tell you, we have, this AgroSmarty has over 2,000 registered farmers across the 6 geopolitical zones also, but majorly from the north. And all these farmers, they are consistent farmers that practice mixed croppings. Now, which simply means an extension agent is having the opportunity to have at least 4 crops in a year, in a single year. Now, an extension agent is liable to seeing income 4 times in a year, because for every farmer you supervise or for every farmer you are monitoring, you are entitled to them. Now, you are a businessman, or you are a tech individual, or you are just an influential person. You really like agriculture, but then you didn't have the experience. You didn't know how to go about it. You come to AgroSmarty. Now, we give you an extension agent. The extension agent will get you a land, start the farming activities for you. At the end of the day, it's a fair sharing. We give you back your 80%. The extension agent have the 15%, and AgroSmarty has 5%. We came with this solution just to help the association to stand alone. Of course, we can't stand alone. NCS is our parent body. But then, Yoruba adage says, Omotoba Shikpa Lubi Engbe, a child that really shows, oh, I'm ready to take up this mantle. I'm ready, this is what I have. Okay, this is what you can now use to support me. That is why we also we took a bold step to develop this solution. There are very many solutions we have developed, but then this is the only solution that is really scaling through market currently. We have another solution called Quickie. Quickie was launched in Lagos last year, December. Quickie is just like a logistic application that you can just call anytime. It's also on the Play Store. You can just call at any time. It will deliver your goods for you, any place and at any moment. And you'll be charged at a very, very low rate, a low cost. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, NACOSite and fathers are here. I am enjoying you all. The world is moving from, we are all tech guys, but then we also need to subscribe to being a good technopreneur and a tech agropreneur. So which simply means I'm enjoying you all to subscribe to using AgroSmarty, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you on the platform. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Hakim Tomiwa. That's a good one. AgroSmarty, bringing agricultural practitioners or farmers together and equally making products available to you from anywhere you are, especially for those of you that are looking for organic food, okay, something natural. And then that's a platform to use. So I expect that you go to Play Store and download it and make good use of it. And they are equally available. You can give them feedback if there's anything that you feel, or any area that you think they can improve on. Thank you very much. One of our hosts, major host or sponsor for this conference is Oyo State government. They were here yesterday, led by Senator Aji Mobi, as well as we have the Special Assistant on ICT, who is going to be talking to us on some other things that they are using, some other opportunities that are available in Oyo State, and how you professionals can key into it. Please join me to welcome Mr. Dauda Kunle Kolawole, the Special Assistant on ICT to the Executive Governor of Oyo State. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning once again, and you are welcome to Oyo State. We're not having enough time to be able to tell you or to kind of give you an insight to areas where there are opportunities. We said yesterday that what the state government has been busy doing is to provide an enabling environment for investors to come in. And gradually, these investors are trickling in. In the area of education, we are currently looking at digital pedagogy. So if you have a solution in this area, we might welcome that, because we discover there's no any child that is not a guru. It just depends on how do you view your child. One way or the other, a child is given, an opportunity to excel. It's for the parents and the government and the society to be able to identify what the child can do. And that is the area we are looking at. It's obvious that the foundation of education in this country is faulty. And that is why His Excellency, the Governor of Oyo State, is seriously looking at education. We have Code Oyo program too that we are looking at. We want our children from the primary school to the secondary school to be able to code so that they can start solving problems, from that age. So we are expecting stakeholders to come around and partner with us in this area. This one will be taken up very soon, probably after when they go on vacation. We want to kind of do a kind of demonstration to be able to look at how we could really position it very well. We are also looking at, very soon we'll be hosting NITDA graduate internship scheme in Oyo State for Southwest. This might probably be early August, just for a month. That is, we want to have a month interactive session and maybe online, 1 month online interactive session. So we are seriously working on how this one too could take off. So we also need business outfits that are ready to partner with us in this area as well. If you remember the presentation His Excellency was given yesterday, we talked about the technology tower. So this technology tower is an area, we have the first tower building in Oyo State, in Ibadan, the Cocoa Mall, the Cocoa House. We also want to have technology tower, the first technology tower in this country in Oyo State. So we need the support of the business, community to come and partner with us so that all that we'll be doing in research. We have a research center, we have incubation hub centers. We have one very close to us here that we are trying to bring up together with the Ministry of Information and Technology. So we want to showcase all these things in this technology tower. So we are looking forward to partners to be able to, realize all these projects. What are we doing? If you go to Okiogun area, some of us that are from that area, we know what our youths are doing. Because of the unemployment in the country, you see them engage in smuggling of rice, into this country. If you have an opportunity to go there, you see a traffic of all these panel vans with a load of rice, and the customs, just mounting a toll gate and collecting money from them. We look at this thing and we discover that to disengage these youths from that practice might be a little bit difficult. So we are looking at how we could digitize, a solution that could bring them out of that practice. So we need solution that could help us to achieve this. Most of them are youths. And when you try to stop them from doing that, where do they go? They become an armed robbers, or they join all these political thugs. So this we don't want, because they are exposed to ammunitions, they are exposed to diabolical, materials. So we want our youth to be fully engaged digitally, so that your state could, still retain that come first in everything. We're also looking at the National Union Road Transport Workers. So if you see them in town, you see what they are doing. We want to see how we could use digital inclusive to be able to bring them out or to do a better thing for them. So these are areas that we think, opportunities are. We have e-legislature, we have e-politics, because the political arena of Oyo State has been redefined, and that is why we are able to sit down here comfortably, we are able to move around without any molestation. So thank you very much. You are welcome anytime, any day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dauda. You've heard from Oyo State government about areas by which you can assist them. He has talked about transportation, he talked about politics, he talked about a lot of other areas which you ICT professionals can actually help the state government to be more productive and equally be more accountable to the citizens. Thank you very much for that. Now we'll be going into the NIDA session, and I'm made to understand that we have the Director General of NIDA around, and also we have a lot of things to talk about. NIDA will be telling us what and what they've been doing, and having coordinate the session about this startup. I think it's high time I'll bring my senior colleague, Senator in making. Mr. Falabi Salisu, SAS. You can see he works like a senator. So we're actually finding a way to write a program that will fast-track the whole process of getting into National Assembly. Thank you, sir.
Don't go. Don't go. Thank you, Res. A warm good morning to all of us. I hope you had a very wonderful night rest, like I did. I am not going to ask for the details. It's outside the purview of conference, whatever you did overnight. But whatever you do, just remember that we are responsible for your being here. We don't want to be looking for anybody. Until you go back to your respective places, you are still linked with NCS. So be careful as you serve Ibadan, particularly because we are very close to the University of Ibadan. And we're also very close to the Polytechnic Ibadan. So please ensure that when you go out, tell somebody where you are going, okay? Particularly for some of my friends who are looking at me directly. Nice to see you here. This morning we'll be having NIDA session, and for some of you will be asking, what about NIDA? NIDA is very central to the realization of the Nigerian dream when it comes to information technology. NIDA is National Information Technology Development Agency. NIDA is a federal government agency under Ministry of Communications. And I'll be telling you stories as how NIDA came into being through the effort of Nigeria Computer Society and CPN. And I think it was during the time of President Olusegun Obasanjo that the industry felt there was a need for a coordinating body for information technology development agency in the country. And NCS made repeated effort and calls on the government, and eventually NIDA was established. And for those of you who remember very well, even when NIDA was first established, it was done in such a hurry that there was no enabling act for NIDA, and funding became a problem. Again, NCS and CPN made several visits to National Assembly to get the NIDA Act passed into law. And with that, NIDA became a body corporate and an agency of federal government. And the first Director General of NIDA was Professor Ajayi from University of Ife, of blessed memory now. Professor Ajayi was in office for several years, and after his death, after his demise, we had Professor Kilopa's officer Ngaye, who took over as the Director General of NIDA. He was in office for 2 terms, and when his tenure expired, we have an acting DG in person of Dr. Umar, who was in office for a few months, and then a substantive DG was appointed in person of, I think, Dr. Peter Jag. Thank you. Peter Jag came on board, and I was also there for some time, and then at the beginning of the current administration in the country, his term expired, and we have one of the directors, is a senior director, who took over in the acting capacity. And sometimes, about 2 years ago, we have the current DG, who is the third substantive DG of NIDA, our brother, our friend, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantani, the current substantive DG of NIDA. So every time you see NIDA future in NCS or CPM program, is because of the involvement of Nigeria Computer Society and Computer Professionals Regional Council of Nigeria in the establishment of NIDA. And of course, if you also go through NIDA Act, you will see that these two bodies are adequately represented. So this is a background to NIDA having a session exclusively devoted to it in order to tell us what they have been doing and for the industry to have an opportunity to interact with the NIDA management. I would therefore be inviting to the high table now the representatives of NIDA, and of course, eventually the DG. Oh, I will have the DG of NIDA is already here. Give me a round of applause. Let me therefore invite to the high table, I will be inviting the president of NCS to also be part of the NIDA function. And the two of them will come together, the president as well as the DG of NIDA. Let me invite to the high table the president of Nigeria Computer Society, Professor Shola Aderomu, FNCS, and he will wait behind to bring also to the high table the Director General of National Information Technology Development Agency, NIDA, our friend, our brother, someone, if you understand the meaning of names, you probably understand how significant his name is. One, his name is Isa. And Isa, as you know, is dear to both Muslims and Christians. The Muslims call him Isa, the Christians call him Jesus. He's also Ali. Ali was the very youngest, brave man to have accepted the deen. And his name is also Ibrahim, also called by Abraham, father of faith. The Christian regard Abraham as father of faith. The Muslim regard him as father of faith. Even the Jews regard Abraham as father of faith. So I'm therefore inviting to the high table the father of IT profession, and he will come with the NSS president, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pamtani, Director General, National Information Technology Development Agency. You better clap very well so that they can give us more money. I'm clapping here too. This is the third substantive DG of NIDA, as I mentioned to you earlier on. And we are proud, as Nigeria Computer Society, as CPN, for the role the industry played in the establishment of NITRA. To join the president and DG of NIDA on the high table, I'm going to invite someone whose name from where I have come from in the eastern part of the country means lion. Agu means lion. And it's therefore bearing two Agu is Agu Collins Agu. Let me invite Dr. Lion Agu Collins Agu, Director of CPS. Also, please join us on the high table. He's walking like a lion. Give me a round of applause. The king of the animals. Dr. Agu has been with us since yesterday, and you'll remember that he was delivering his goodwill message when His Excellency, the Governor of Oyo State, arrived. Thank you for the courtesy yesterday, and thank you for the understanding. Let me also invite the Head of Research and Development, Dr. Femi Adeluyi. Dr. Femi Adeluyi is also from NITRA, and is Head of Research and Development. Please put your hands together as I welcome Dr. Femi Adeluyi. Understand he's on his way. He's doing some research on the way. NITRA places high premium on the development of ecosystem. And they recognize that in the development of this ecosystem, you need to also be gender sensitive, and you also need to carry along with you the Generation X, the younger generation. And therefore, they have found in this young lady someone who is also young and is also a lady. And therefore, let me invite the Manager of Ecosystem Development, ONC, of NIDA, Dr. Falila Jumal, to also come to the high table. Young people, clap for one of your own. You say they are not involving people. You mean you have a PhD? Ah, okay. For the rest of today, I'm Dr. Folabi Salisu, PhD. Even if it lapses after today, call me doctor for today. Dr. Falala Jimon, you're welcome. It's occasion like this that make me remember how I run away from a PhD program. It's okay. I'll soon become a senator. That's better than PhD. The technical advisor to the DG is also here. My pleasure to invite Mr. Kashif Inua Abdullahi. Kashif Inua Abdullahi to please come to the table. That's him coming. And of course, that's Dr. Femi Adeluyi that I announced earlier, the Head of Research and Development of NITRA. Yesterday, Dr. Agu Collins Agu announced so many initiatives, including the 7-point agenda that NIDA has been pursuing under the leadership of Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantani, fellow British Computer Society. And one of those programs he mentioned yesterday was developing all the channel and all the ecosystem, including some of the foreign trips that they make to develop IT in this country. And some of you asked me yesterday that when the DG comes, I should tell him, when next NIDA is going for such programs, NCS and CPS should be part of the delegation. Is that what you said? Did you say that? DG, did you hear me, sir? No, let me repeat, DG. Yesterday, before you came, you sent a very powerful delegation led by Dr. Collins Agu, and he took us through the 7-point agenda of your administration, and we could feel it. We could feel NIDA vibrance and vitality. And part of it was also build networks, to also build bridges, gateway, switches, routers, to connect to other networks in other parts of the world. And he mentioned that you are even planning, or you have just done one, where you went abroad to showcase Nigeria IT potential investment. And somebody asked me, was NCS and CPN part of that delegation? I said, I'm not aware. But when the DG comes, I will convey your request. So, Mr. DG, when next you are applying that program, remember the organizations that midwife NIDA into being, the NCS and CPN. One more time, a round of applause for the DG NIDA. And at this point, I am going to be running in background, while in the foreground, NIDA will be running. I therefore invite the Director General of NIDA, Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantani, PhD, FBCS, to formally welcome us to this session. Mr. DG, sir.
The president of the Nigeria Computer Society, my brother, Professor Adesola Aderomu, FNCS, the fellows of Nigeria Computer Society here, members of NCS, my colleagues from the National Information Technology Development Agency, good morning, and may peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you. I am delighted to be here with you to attend this national conference organized by the Nigeria Computer Society here on the University of Ibadan campus. I begin by apologizing to all of you for my inability to be here yesterday when the program started. That was due to some challenges beyond my control. Yesterday, it was a Tuesday. I bought my ticket on Monday to come from Abuja to Lagos, and by air from Lagos to Ibadan by road. My plan was for me to be here yesterday as early as 9 a.m., lately by 10 a.m. Around 3 a.m., I received a call from the office of the Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Oshimbajo, directed me to appear on NTA 7:30 a.m. to talk on our trip to Silicon Valley. Because of that directives, I had to postpone my journey and reschedule it. and I couldn't get any flight beside overland from Abuja to Ibadan. And we left Abuja for Ibadan yesterday by 4 p.m. So the reason why I was not able to be here in person during the opening ceremony of this conference was due to the directive of the Vice President. As you all know, in public office, when a superior directive comes to you, you have to comply. So that is why we hardly manage our time. Your time is being managed by how you are directed to comply or how you are directed to do. And I do hope that my apology will be accepted. Thank you very much. Secondly, I am highly delighted to be here because of the fact that, firstly, I am a member of Nigeria Computer Society. The facilitator of the event has overblown my trumpet by saying many things. I even asked him, I believe that you are a technical person, you are an IT professional, but are you also a politician? He has overblown my trumpet indeed, but he forgot to mention that I am also a member of Nigeria Computer Society, also a member of Computer Professionals of Nigeria. So I think because of that local content policy, we need to mention NCS and CPN as well. So I'm also a member of NCS. Being a member of NCS, it is a privilege and an honor for me to be with all of you during this conference. Secondly, on that issue, I did all I can to be here and attend the event from now to the end of it. Because of the fact that NCS was very kind enough to the National Information Technology Development Agency, and you can clearly see that this session has been given to the NIDA to come and make presentation, discuss with other stakeholders, discuss our achievements, our challenges, our problems, and what we need to come together and do collectively. I think with this opportunity, it is very important for the Chief Executive to be here in person so that other stakeholders will be able to give their input on how to move the sector forward based on the mandate of the agency. So because of that, I'm here with my team, which has been announced to all of you, with Dr. Agu Collins Agu, Director of Corporate Planning and Strategy, Dr. Femi, Head of Research and Development of that unit, Dr. Falilat from Office of Nigerian Content, and my technical assistant, Kashif Inua. We came with this very strong team so that in the course of our discussion, we will be able to participate and make it more lively and productive. My colleagues, at the National Information Technology Development Agency, with your input during eNigeria 2016, in the course of our eNigeria 2016, we were able to get the input of many IT stakeholders that participated. The president of NCS was not there in person, but in the course of our deliberation, he was represented by a fellow of Nigeria Computer Society. We came together with the stakeholders of the industry, the professional bodies, the supervising ministry, the agency, and the academia. We presented to them the draft strategic roadmap we established in order to transform the IT sector. We got their input. We brainstormed. We also invited some selected stakeholders to another retreat where we reviewed the strategic roadmap collectively, and we involved the relevant ministries, and we came up with 7 pillars that are very critical in developing the IT sector in Nigeria. I am going to present the 7 pillars superficially and mention few achievements of the agency so far within less than 2 years. This, I hope, will make us to appreciate what the agency has been doing and at the same time to see what we will recommend to the agency to move forward. Among the 7 pillars, number 1 is IT regulation. Number 2 is capacity building. Number 3 is cybersecurity. Number 4 is digital job creation. Number 5 is digital inclusion. Number 6 is government digital services promotion and development. Number 7 is local content promotion and development. These are the 7 pillars that the agency focuses more on in an attempt to deliver its mandate and transform the Nigerian IT sector. Number 1, IT regulation. Usually, our perception whenever we talk about IT regulation, we only think of bringing unnecessary policies to make the sector more difficult to operate. Or sometimes we feel that IT regulation is all about frustrating and jeopardizing our effort. That is a very wrong perception. IT development is all about, IT regulation is all about regulation for the sake of development. We regulate in order to develop. We regulate in order to motivate. We regulate in order to support you and make you more successful in whatever you do in IT sector. The IT regulation doesn't focus in any way to jeopardize your effort or to frustrate you, but rather to motivate you and ensure there is enforcement where that is necessary. And that is why the regulation focuses more on ministries, departments, and agencies. Why? Usually they are the consumers. And the agency focuses on that because of relevant sections of the Act establishing the agency. For example, if you go through the NIDA Act 2007, Section 6, Article A, the Act mandates the agency to create a framework for the planning, coordinating, up to regulation of IT practices in the country. In that Section 6 of Section A, the word regulation of IT sector is mentioned clearly. If you go to Section 6, under Article I, the Act mandates the agency to introduce appropriate regulatory policies. Look at it, to introduce appropriate regulatory policies. So this introduction is not in any way to make the sector difficult to operate, but rather to get what are your challenges, what the agency needs to do to make you more effective and support you and make you more successful. As part of the IT regulation, we traveled to Silicon Valley. We accompanied the Vice President of Nigeria. The facilitator of the event said that NCAs was supposed to be invited. I agree with him 100%. That is why during GITEX that NIDA coordinates, without even any interest from the president, NIDA invited the president of NCAs to come and represent the society on that trip. He did not in any way talk to us, but we discovered that NCAs is very critical. Because of that, that body must be part of our trip. And in spite of his tight schedule, he was able to make it. But this journey to Silicon Valley, even the chief executive of NIDA was only invited by the vice president. He only sent a letter to me, directed me to accompany him to Silicon Valley, and I was given only a few days. So the trip was not in any coordinated by NIDA, but it was coordinated by the vice president of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Oshimbajo. So I was in the trip accompanying him. So in a situation where you are asked to come and accompany one of your bosses, then in that situation you have no power to invite someone to come and accompany you. And I hope with this I will be able to get an exit. And if you look at, again, Section 6 subsection under Article M, the Act establishing the agency also mandates the agency to advise government on the way of developing IT sector, including introducing appropriate legislation in order to regulate the sector. These are some of the key areas that encourage the agency to focus on IT regulation, not for the sake of in any way jeopardizing your effort, but with the intention of getting your observations and see how we can accommodate them and make them more successful. That is why whenever we come up with any idea, the first thing we do, we allow stakeholders to go through it. We have so many, at least now, frameworks in place. We have so many standards and guidelines. Whenever we come up with any one of them, the first thing we do, we invite stakeholders. We even upload the draft copy in our website and allow stakeholders to download and send their observations. Recently, we were about to publish one standard. Then another body requested us to extend the period with 3 weeks so that they could be able to go through it and give us their input. Because of that, we extended that period. Why? Because of the fact that if you want to be successful, allow people to go through what you propose, come together, and see how you can implement it. That is why even during our trip to Silicon Valley, in our meeting with all the investors, the questions we ask them, what do you think we need to do with our policies, with our laws, and with our ease of doing business that can allow you to come and invest in our country in any way possible? We are not even directing them what to do, but asking them, what do they need the country to do for them to operate successfully? We collected their input, and we are brainstorming them. So because of this, the issue of IT regulation is not in any way to frustrate, but rather to enforce and ensure that whatever we have in Nigeria, it is given the highest priority. That is all what IT regulation is all about. Secondly, is on the issue of capacity building. If you want to be successful in IT, it is necessary for you to build your capacity locally. The agency has so many activities with regards to capacity building. One of them, we have scholarship, which is international and local, in which we sponsor young Nigerians to pursue their MSc or PhD, some in foreign countries, some in Nigeria. And this scholarship has been going on for almost 8 to 9 years now. And it is based on merit. That is why all states of the Federation, including FCT, are treated fairly and equally. If we are to pick a number, that number is the same all over the states of the Federation. If it is one from each state, then definitely all states are going to benefit. If it is 2, all states are going to get the same number. If it is 3, all states are going to get the same number. And through this process, the agency sponsored over 300 Nigerians where they got their MSc and PhD. And even last year alone, the agency sponsored around 72 young Nigerians to pursue their MSc or PhD. And we also introduced ICT law. We are in the process of encouraging our local universities to introduce courses of ICT law, because you IT professionals. So that is why lawyers are very important in whatever we do. So we encourage our local universities to introduce ICT law. And for example, University of Lagos has accepted that idea, and they inform us officially that we can come so that we can sign the OMU with them and make it public for all Nigerians to know that now the country has introduced ICT law. As part of building our capacity, we introduced many forms of our training, like ICT for people with disabilities, where people with disabilities are trained on ICT. In the course of the training, usually some of them will come for the training without even knowing how to switch on a computer. At the end of the training, you will see them writing in Microsoft, design in PowerPoint, managing CorelDRAW, and many more. Through that training, some of them are able to get the skills, and they even start their entrepreneurship. And the agency has been donating computers to them, and we are also in the process of providing even funding for them to establish even business centers in our towns and cities. We also introduce ICT for women, where women are being taught on how to use ICT. The training started, and we hope it will continue. The agency also introduced ICT training for unemployed youths. And I think part of that, we have another batch which is going to be conducted here in Ibadan. I do hope that in the next month, the program will begin. So these are some of the trainings we have introduced. As part of capacity building, we also introduced capacity building for CEOs, in which most of the CEOs of government parastatals were invited. The agency taught them how to use ICT, the issue of e-governance, the necessity of adopting e-governance, and many more. We also introduced ICT training for the heads of ICT and procurement units in government ministries, departments, and agencies. And that training really supported them a lot to the extent that most of them are willing to adopt ICT more than ever before. These are some of the trainings we have as an example. Then the third one is cybersecurity. As we all know that the issue of cybersecurity or cybercrime is real. It's real now. And if you look at the global ranking, and if you look at the position of Nigeria, it's highly worrisome. And cyber criminals, usually they are ahead of others. And that is why they say cyber crime is at the speed of light, while cyber law is at the speed of, or cyber security is at the speed of law. Cyber crime at the speed of light, while cyber security is at the speed of law. If you say at the speed of light, you know the speed of light. If you say at the speed of law, you know how laws are being enacted and implemented. Sometimes a draft copy or a bill will spend 10 or 15 years at the National Assembly. But the speed of light is something that you can't imagine. So that is why it's better for us, the way we see we are moving from traditional governance to e-governance. There is need for the agency to focus on cybersecurity as well, particularly the act establishing the agency establishes that issue seriously. So that is why the agency also focuses on the cybersecurity. Part of cybersecurity, we are integrating our computer emergency response and readiness team. Secondly, the agency also is working on trying to reposition the proposed public key infrastructure. That is why we had a meeting recently in the office of the Vice President where all MDAs, all parastatals that had the agenda of PKR were asked to come together. We worked together, and the committee resolved that the National Information Technology Development Agency should manage the national public key infrastructure, while other parastatals and commissions like immigration, like NIMSI and the rest should link up with the national public key infrastructure, which is going to be managed by the National Information Technology Development Agency. As part of our cybersecurity also, we come up with what we call a cybersecurity advisory on threat. Whenever there is any potential attack or threat, we usually enlighten our fellow Nigerians, particularly those dealing with government documents in ministries, departments, and agencies. What happened with WannaCry is a good example of the importance of taking proactive measures. And as part of that also, we start organizing training on cybersecurity to the heads of ICT in our ministries, departments, and also agencies. These are some of the few things we have in place with regards to cybersecurity. And we usually issue press statement when the need arises. Whenever there is any potential attack, we usually issue press statement. And we recently produced another document on cybersecurity. We published a book recently on cybersecurity awareness, which has been distributed to the heads of ministries, departments, and agencies of government, not only at the federal level, including state level. As part of that, we are organizing cybersecurity awareness campaign. We did the first one for the Northwest in Katsina 3 months ago. We did the second one for South-South in Bayelsa 2 months ago, and we are conducting the third one for the Northeast in Gombe, and the fourth one will take place hopefully in Ogun in the next month, and the fifth one of the North Central will follow, then that of the Southeast will be the final one. So we are organizing this awareness campaign because the best way for you to ensure that your space is secured is to make sure that people are aware about cybercrime and they take precautionary measures. So that is why the agency is organizing this training zone by zone. And number 4 is digital job creation. Under digital job creation, the agency organizes many activities. Firstly, we establish small centers that we name them digital job creation centers. Within last year alone, we established 80 of them. In Oyo State here, we have 5. And these 80 are all over the country. In this state alone, I believe that at least a minimum of 5 centers were established. And these centers focus more on creating digital jobs, where young Nigerians are being taught on how to manage computers, how to learn the skills of computer and establish their own entrepreneurship. So these centers, we so far established 80. And under capacity building, we established 86 centers last year. And they are purposely for building capacity. So because of that, in digital job creation, we so far have 80 centers. And also, we are organizing Start of Friday and Start of Nigeria. Start of Friday, so far, we organized 4. The first one in Kaduna for Northwest, the second one in Lagos for Southwest, the third one for the Northeast, and the fourth one, I think, for South-South in Akwa Ibom. I was able to attend all of them. During this Start of Friday, we identify brilliant Nigerians, those who have skill of ICT, those that need our support. We usually bring them closer to us, we mentor them, we provide seed funding for them. When their ideas are brilliant, we sponsor them to international events, like Gulf Information Technology Exhibition. Last year, we sponsored 10, seeking for potential investors that are willing to invest in the idea or in the startup. During this Silicon Valley, the Vice President directed us to sponsor some. So we traveled to Silicon Valley with them. However, the selection was not done by NIDA, but his office directed the agency to take them there. So we have been organizing this, and we do hope that it will continue. And at the end, we usually provide seed funding to all those who participated. As part of digital job creation as well, the agency is also organizing training. Okay, I mentioned that of people with disabilities. We are also organizing training for graduate internship, those who graduated from universities with their certificates in courses that are not core IT, maybe some in law, some in sociology, some in agri-economics. We usually train them on entrepreneurship and provide the facilities they need to start their entrepreneurship. And number 5 is, I think we discussed IT regulation, number 1. Number 2, capacity building. Number 3, cybersecurity. Number 4, digital job creation. Number 5 is digital inclusion. Under digital inclusion, we have been providing, which is the theme of this year's conference here, We have been providing computer wide area network to higher institutions. Even this year, we provided wide area network here in Oyo State, and we also provide virtual libraries. We have ongoing project here in Oyo under virtual libraries, and we usually try to see that these projects are spread all over the country. Under virtual library, some virtual libraries have up to 100 computers, some 50 computers. Under wide area network, we usually pay even for the license, with unlimited access to internet for 2 years, as the case may be. And we provide all the facilities that are required to provide this wide area network for all students and the staff of the institutions. As part of digital inclusion, we are also in the process of completing 2 IT hubs. The first one is in Katsina, and the second one is here in Oyo State. All of them, I think, are at least 90% completed, and we are in the process of commissioning them. So we have 2 IT hubs. These IT hubs are established purposely in order to focus on training our youth on ICT. And we do hope that the agency will continue to support the IT hubs and make them more successful. So we have so many programs under digital inclusion as well. Then number 6, government digital services promotion and development. We are promoting government digital services. Particularly, we focus more on e-government. We encourage our ministries, departments, and agencies to start doing things online. However, I believe there are some obstacles. We are doing the best we can to remove the obstacles or advise on how to handle them so that they can start doing that. Many MDS comply. For example, JAM, they are doing excellently well. FRIS is doing excellently well. Corporate Affairs Commission is doing excellently well. And again, EFCC joined the trip now. They are also doing excellently well when it comes to going to e-governance. So we are promoting e-governance, and we are also developing it. That is why we recently invited stakeholders to present to them our e-government interoperability framework. We got their input, and I believe many people here participated in the review of that e-government interoperability framework. And we came up with also cloud policy. We are also working on it for over 1 year. And we have big data again in place. So these are some of the things we have been doing with regards to e-governance. And finally is local content development and promotion. Local content development is how to develop it. Local content promotion is how to promote and enforce it. We begin by development. Particularly in hardware, we realize that we have a long way to go. Because of that, without making unnecessary publicity, we usually organize meetings with our OEMs, discuss with them about the complaints of those who patronize their product, ask them what the agency needs to do to make their business more successful. We organized that forum in Lagos last year, where we spent almost 4 hours discussing with OEMs. Most of them were invited. The only question I asked them is, what do you think NIDA can do on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria and make you more successful? That is only what took me to Lagos. What do you think NIDA can do on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria and make you more successful? We collected all their observations. However, there are not more than 2. We told them the complaints we have been receiving about the quality. Because of that, we encourage them to establish at least service centers. Some will patronize. When the system crashes or gets any problem, even a minor one, it's difficult for them to get any service center where that problem can be fixed. So we encourage them to come together even jointly and establish one service center in Abuja and the other one in Lagos, so that whoever patronizes your product, if he has a challenge, he will rush to that service center. Because many people complain when they patronize and there is a problem, they find it difficult to get an expert that can fix it. But if you have your own service center, they can rush there. So you can begin by establishing two, one in Abuja and the other one in Lagos, so that you can operate them jointly. And we organized another one on the software again in Lagos this year, and I attended the event. The president of CPN and the president of NCS were both represented during the meeting. We discussed similar issues with them. And we have been enforcing local content on MDAs. That is why, firstly, we have a joint committee on this enforcement with EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, in which, as long as we discover any ministry, department, or agency that patronizes hardware or software that is imported to the country while we have the capacity to do it at home, or it is available locally, we usually write and notify them to put the project on hold. Come to NIDA and seek for clearance. In the course of seeking that clearance, we ensure that the project will not be allowed to continue, as long as we have the capacity to do it locally. And that is what even took us recently to EFCC with one industry of the federal government, in which 4 of their directors were detained by EFCC because they patronize foreign hardware and software while we have the capacity to do it in Nigeria. The same with some banks again. We wrote to EFCC and they are even investigating that. We established this committee jointly with EFCC to ensure that local content is enforced. And we encourage our MDAs to patronize. We are at the center. MDAs complain to us about quality. We reach to OEMs and others and encourage them to handle that challenge. When the OEMs and others complain to us about the patronage, we reach to MDAs and ask them to patronize. And that is why we are monitoring their budgets year in, year out. Last year, we wrote over 600 letters to strategic ministries, departments, and agencies, directing them to patronize our local product, our indigenous content. And in the course of doing that, we have at least we are in the process of taking disciplinary action along with other agencies like EFCC and the Office of Auditor General for the Federation to see that they are brought to book and they are punished when the need arises. So these are some of the stages the agency has been taking in order to enforce local content. I want to use this opportunity to plead with all of you on the issue of local content. Firstly, let us try to see that whatever we do, we try to do it with high quality to the best of our ability. If that is done, we ensure that that product is patronized. Secondly, under local content, we came up with a policy beginning of this year in which we asked all Nigerians to think and come up with a solution to any challenge in governance. If you have that solution, the agency can support you in any way possible. Firstly, to make that your proposal realistic. Secondly, to ensure that relevant ministry, department, or agency patronizes your product. Come up with a solution. If that solution is successful, let us know. If you know the ministry or department or agency that is supposed to adopt it, then we will serve as a mediator between you and the relevant ministry, department, or agency and ask them to patronize. So this is very important. Let us sit down critically, think of a challenge, and come up with a solution to it. If you do that, let us know. We will ask the relevant ministry, department, or agency to patronize. But what is important, if you want to do, try to excel in whatever you do. Make it very effective and world-class. If that is done, for sure, the agency is there for you 100%. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami. Let me start on the existing protocol. And good morning or good day, everybody. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to make a presentation, but I think I'm lucky, or maybe unlucky, my DG has already said everything. But I would like to make a better introduction of him. Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim, DG NIDA, resumed office on 26th of September 2016. He's a professor of computer information systems and head of technical writing at the International Islamic University of Medina. Actually, I was lecturing there when he was invited by the federal government to take charge of National Information Technology Development Agency, NIDA. Prior to moving over to the IIUM, he also lectured in Abu Bakr Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi, Nigeria. And he is also a Harvard and MIT trained professional and holds a PhD in computer information system from the famous prestigious university in the UK, that is Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen, Scotland. He's a fellow of British Computer Society. Of course, as mentioned, that is also a member of this very organization, Nigerian Computer Society, and also a member of the CPN. I feel what is very, very remarkable about this very young man is he basically carried out a disruption in the IT ecosystem, moving over to NIDA. One is that he knows his onion, being a professional in that very field. And he basically championed the roadmap after a lot of research was done to find out the best way forward. As a matter of fact, he has won several awards. He won the CEO, Public Sector CEO of the Year, 2018. He also won the Excellence Award, Award Award, Excellence in Leadership, 2018. He won another award, the ICT Promoter of the Year, 2017. And he won the ICT CEO of the Year, 2017 as well. And in championing NIDA, NIDA also won several awards. We won 2018 Government Agency of the Year. We also won the Most Outstanding Regulator in IT Award 2017. And they also won the Outstanding Public Institution Award. Also won Outstanding Government Agency of the Year, the Most Improved and Innovative Information Technology Agency of the Year, and so on. Just a few I'm trying to mention out here. Now, we're going to have a session now. I'm here struggling if there's need really to go through the presentation, but I will just brush through it because most of the presentation has been done by the DG. Now, the moderator of this very session will be Dr. Febi Adeluyu. He is the head of research and development unit of CPS department in NIDA. He has a PhD in computer engineering from Chosun University of South Korea. Also a member, also part of the session will be participating Dr. Falela Jimo. She has a PhD in artificial intelligence from the UK, and she researched in the field of artificial intelligence planning with the University of Huddersfield, United Kingdom. She also worked as a research grant manager for the European Commission of Science and Technology on automatic transport support system project. And of course, we also have the TA, technical assistant to the DG, Kashifi Inua Abdullahi. He's an MIT Sloan-trained strategist, innovative, and technology architect. He worked for Galaxy Backbone as a solution architect before he moved to CBN as a technology architect. But what is very remarkable about him is his certification is the 34th Nigeria to be a CCIE certified. And I think this is quite remarkable. Thank you very much. And he's actually, due to his expertise, we had to plead with the Central Bank of Nigeria to release him to NIDA to help in the ICT development of the country. Thank you very much. I'll start with the presentation now. Please, can I have a slide? Please, next slide. Presentation, please. Okay. Can I have somebody operate this, please? Well, while we're waiting, just a few things. Well, we quite understand that when we talk of the, how do I put it now? Why? Okay, fine. We have a little bit of issue here, but I'll just go ahead anyway. Besides what the DJ has mentioned, I think I will try to touch areas of emerging technology because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, we understand that the ICT landscape is very, very volatile and dynamic. There are constant changes going on every day. Nowadays, we don't see typewriters in the offices. So the question is why? Because it's already updated, it's obsolete. And as we sit here today, in the next 5 to 10 years, most of our jobs will become very obsolete. So the question is, what is Nigeria doing towards that? That's number one. Now, what is Nigeria, or how is Nigeria building capacity to make sure that our youth tap into some of these potentials in the emerging technology? I will start by identifying a couple of them. Let me start with IoT. And IoT, which we know the components are 3 C's: computation, control, connectivity. We have trained over 300 NYC members in the Kubwa camp. I must say that this is an ongoing process, which we hope to go around, hope to go around the whole of Nigeria. We also created awareness in open source technology. Why this is important is that if you look at the issue of cyber threat, cyber security, a good reason why we have vulnerability is due to pirated software. When we go and buy some of this software, and you don't have your updates coming in and what have you, so it creates holes and backdoors that, you can have infiltration. But we try to create the awareness in open source hardware as well, because with open source hardware, the cost of ownership is reduced, generally both the hardware-wise and then the software-wise. I'll give a typical example. If you look at the single board computer called a Raspberry Pi, to have a whole system, it costs just $35. And with $35, you can download your open source, maybe Ubuntu operating system, Fedora Linux, or Debian Linux. And you have all these alternative freewares. I'll give you an example, like a keycard, which the commercial equivalent is Altium. Altium costs up to $3,000 to $4,000. But the keycard is just free. So you don't have these issues of piracy and what have you. So we have carried out several trainings in those areas. As a matter of fact, in NIDA, we'll have a monthly section where we invite technical section, or if I call it seminar, where we invite people from the industry to make a presentation. And from this session, we have had a lot of publications done from there. One of the greatest achievements of this session was an introduction, or the architecting of an indigenous IoT platform, which was championed by the DG of NIDA, Dr. Salim Ibrahim, and my humble self. So this very platform, we hope to develop more capacity when it comes to IoT by carrying out intervention in schools, using it as educational kits, and also using it as POCs, proof of concept, in solving some of our major problems, which could be flooding, which could be pollution. For example, the pollution happening in Port Harcourt, people are wondering what is the cause, or early warning system for some of this flooding that happened in Benue and so on, or even some of the boiling issues like the farmers' herders problem, which I think that we should be thinking in this very room. How do you use ICT as a tool to alleviate some of these issues when it comes to that very area? So I will stop at this point and then invite the moderator, Dr. Femi Adeluyu, to take over from me. Doctor, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you don't mind, I'll sit down here and we'll just discuss from here. The DJ has already spoken a lot, so we'll just make a few comments and then we'll take questions from the audience. So I'm going to ask Dr. Falilia to say a little bit about what we're doing regarding local content. DJ has said some things, but I want her to specifically talk about our partnership with NOTAP and how we're trying to improve increase the number of local software developers that produce software for the banks and for the MDAs. Dr. Falila, please.
Good morning, everyone. All protocols duly observed. I'm asked to speak with regard to the activity of ONC with software development. ONC has got different sections: the human capacity development, the hardware, and then the software part of it. The software part of it is that we want our own local software developers. We want to enrich them. We want to create jobs in line with software development. In order to do this, one of the best things we can do is to make sure that not only the MDAs, but most government organizations patronize our own indigenous developed software applications. If they buy local, then we can get more developers interested in developing applications. We can get more jobs with people working with indigenous software companies. So what we did is we partner with MDAs and several stakeholders that has to do with software development. Because of time, I will give an example of just one out of those activities. NoteHub is the MDA responsible for registering local technology in Nigeria. We realized that 60% of those local technology bought are actually softwares. And some of these softwares are things that Nigerians can do themselves. So why do we buy it? One, because of personal interest. Two, because of forest engagement. More money comes in through software because it's importation. You go to NoteHub, you tell them your needs. We want to buy this software. NoteHub gives you certification to go to CBN to buy forest for those softwares. And because it's lucrative, a lot of people make money from it. Nobody cares about our own local indigenous developers anymore. So what we're doing in the Office of Local Content is we partner with NoteHub such that when anybody brings a quote to buy a software, we want to be sure that that software cannot be developed by our own local developers. Then you can go ahead and make procurement. If we can say that we have Nigerian developers that can do this software, then you can't buy it. We've gone to several extents. Even in terms of the fintech, we realized that out of the 60% of the software that were bought, 80% of that 60% are actually financial softwares. So we're working with NoteHub at the moment and looking at those financial softwares that are developed locally, looking at the quality of the ones we have, looking at the security and everything with the ones that is being bought, and bringing stakeholders to see how we can phase it out such that we patronize locally made Nigerian indigenous software. We have seen it, we've researched, we've seen financial sectors successfully implementing, using locally made banking software. They're working, they're fine, they're perfect. So why do we need to import more? This is part of our achievement with ONC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to, my next question will go to the TA. I'm going to be asking about the IT Hub program of NIDA, what it's about and how we're using it to foster digital inclusion, the IT hubs.
Okay. Permit me to adopt existing protocol, please.
Hello, 1, 2. Yeah, you can come over here, please. 1, 2.
Okay. Permit me to adopt existing protocol, please. The question is what we do at NIDA in terms of digital inclusion. Like DG has said, when he came on board, the first thing he did was to assess the baseline of Nigerian IT sector, because NIDA has a broad mandate. So the DG looked at the mandate, assessed where we are, and he set target where he wants to take the sector in 4 years. So in the target he set, we identified 7 key strategic goals, which DG has mentioned them. If you look at the strategic goals, the first was regulation. If you are talking about digital inclusion, the first thing you need to do is to have an enabling environment. So the regulation is about making the Nigerian IT sector an even playing field for the IT industry to participate and have a competitive neutrality. So the regulation is not about to stifle the IT development, but rather to make it easier. So we came up with guidelines, framework, and policy that can help the stakeholders to easily participate in the industry. Then followed by regulation is capacity building. If you want people to be part of the digital world, they need to have the digital literacy. So we do a lot in terms of capacity building, which DG has mentioned most of them. In terms of scholarship, we train people with disabilities, we have a program for children, catch them young. We do program for women and other things. All this is to expand our digital literacy so that people will be involved in the digital world. Then after capacity building, the next one is local content. If you build the capacity, what do you want the student to do with the capacity? Is to come up with innovative ideas. So we encourage our talented young people to come up with solutions that can help develop the IT sectors. So to achieve that, the next strategic goal is promotion of government digital services. If you have a talent, you have an idea, or you conceptualize a solution, you need a platform to test that your solution. So that's why we promote government digital services. So we challenge the young innovators to come up with solutions that can compete with off-the-shelf solution we have from the multinationals. Then we have a digital job creation. Also, this will help to achieve the digital inclusion because you need to create a value chain in the digital world for you to encourage people to participate in the digital world. Then the next was cyber security. After you develop your solution, you need to secure it. If you have a government digital services, it has to be secured. People have to trust it to use the digital services. Then we have the digital inclusion in itself. If you look at all this, they are part of digital inclusion. They lay the ground for you to achieve the digital inclusion. But what we mean by digital inclusion in our strategic pillars is to provide digital infrastructure to underserved communities. We have a lot of intervention projects where we go to remote areas where most of the telcos and business people cannot go and invest. So NIDA, we go there and donate IT infrastructure to the community. And also we donate infrastructure to high institutions and other organizations. Like recently, DG launched Digital Law Research Center for the Nigerian Bar Association Abuja chapter. So we've been doing all this to help the government achieve digital inclusion. And if you look at digital inclusion, it's one of the pillars of UN Sustainable Development, which Nigeria has signed to it. So with this, I challenge NCS also to come up with ideas on how we can work together to achieve this, as this is the themes of this conference, this year's conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, for want of time, we'll just take questions from the audience. If you have any question, please, can I see your hand so that we'll give you the mic, and then we'll get someone to answer you. Any questions? I have 1, 2, wow. Okay, we'll take 5 questions. Sorry? We can take as many. Okay, fine. All right, please just give the next person there and we can start from there. Please just introduce yourself and then you ask your question. If you have someone specifically on the panel that you want to answer, you can direct it. If not, one of us will just answer it.
Well, my name is Olatunde Tijani. I really want to commend NITDA for the initiative so far, and particularly the promotion of the local content initiative. However, I'm more interested in the IT Hub initiative. I want to know the components of what NITDA is doing in terms of the IT Hub. Especially, I don't know, maybe they have, that was about maybe 2 years ago we came, the issue of IT Hub was mentioned, and that they were trying to do it in the, is that, what do they call it? Is it the regional, they are using the regional method, southwest, southeast, and all that. I believe by now, we should have been talking of integrating or entering into states now, and lowering that down into local governments if we have to digitally include everybody now. So I don't know, maybe we've covered all states. Do we have IT hubs that were created by NITDA in all states? Right. If we have done that, what are the plans to go further? Thank you very much.
Please, Dr. Agu will answer that question.
Thank you very much. I think I'll be very, very fast on this. I think primarily NITDA would have, first of all, thank you as much for commending NITDA. You know, we would have done much, but unfortunately our funding is not elastic. We have limited funding. I think we all are aware of the current situation. So in carrying out a project, an intervention, we kind of prioritize it, and then we try to maintain what they call the federal character and federal spread. Now, my DG mentioned a couple of hubs that we are deploying. I mentioned Ibadan and Katsina. Prior to that, we had a hub in collaboration with the Kano State government, which is still ongoing. And if I could mention a little bit about the hub in Ibadan here and in Katsina. Now, the hub in Ibadan is actually an IoT-focused lab. So, sorry, hub. It is a hub that brings the industry and academia together, meaning there's a kind of a production process and also R&D going on, which is what is missing. This is a missing link in Nigeria, where the industry is disjointed from the academia. Every year, we study the ecosystem, Nigeria as a whole. We try to identify areas of intervention. So 2018, this very year, we're looking at least deploying 1 or 2 other hubs. Maybe this time you could go to the maybe southeast, maybe northwest, and what have you. So in a nutshell, it is an ongoing process, which we're actually doing. And the Office of OIE, also, besides deploying hubs that they support, one important project I want to point out is the virtual library, which we deploy in schools that has over 200 computers, some of them. So this also acts as co-working space, almost functioning like a hub as well, where people come, they are taught, thus utilize it for different purposes like the CBT, and so on and so forth. So all these are ongoing process, which is a continuum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for those that don't know, OIE is Office for ICT Innovation and Entrepreneurship. It's a subsidiary of NITDA. Please, let's have another question.
Okay.
Yes, sir?
Good morning. My name is Mr. Ikong Udom. I want to ask question on the capacity building and the local content. First, on the local content, promotion and development. We know we have a board here in Nigeria known as Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board. And they are equally working effectively. So I want to ask, what is the relationship between this particular board and that of NIDA? I believe their interests are not, or their mandates are not conflicting. Number two, on the capacity building, I vividly remember that when NIDA started, that they used to use the NCS to penetrate deep into the local governments. I remember in 2012, our company undertook to train 3 states, Borno, Taraba, and Adamawa, even when the escalation of violence was so much. But at a point in time, we did not hear NIDA do that again, though those people are still calling from those states. So I want to ask, how is NIDA empowering or building the capacity of the hinterlands, like people in the remote states, like these other states? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Probably I'll answer those questions. The first one concerning the board for local content. The one you mentioned, I think it has to do with the oil sector. Right? Yes, oil and gas. And what we're doing is related to focus on the ICT sector. Yes, we collaborate, we share notes, but that's where the differences lie. And then your second question regarding what we're doing to build capacity in the remote areas. Like the DG shared, he said we are deploying digital job creation centers, digital capacity building centers in different, so it's not just at the state level. We have at local government, it's on our website, you can download it there. We have different ones there. And when we have our programs, like he talked about the training for people living with disabilities, talked about the training for women and girls, what we do is that we try to reach out to these different communities and get people from the different places. So we for example, we say we're training people in, say, Southwest or Southeast, and then we'll get people from the different states, from different local governments, and then we train them. So that's what we do. I mean, we still, reach out to people in the hinterlands. I hope I answered your question. If not, we can meet offline. Thank you. Any other question, please? Yes, sir, please, you have the floor. Digital inclusion includes gender sensitivity. I noticed no woman has asked the question. So please, I want the next question to come from. Okay, so please, ma, you ask the question after that. Yes, sir, please go ahead. It's working. Sorry, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. Akinsheye. Please, I want to appreciate the effort of NIDA.
Thank you very much.
And also the effort of our, of the leader of NIDA.
Thank you.
But with all that, I have some observation. With all the effort NIDA is putting in place, I want to believe that both NIDA in the area of regulation, CPI in the area of regulation, though in this country we have challenge of double standard, which is not fault of neither one body or the other, but right from the government. And I'll give you an example. In accreditation of institutions and courses in Nigeria, Ministry of Establishment under Ministry of Education is empowered. CPN is empowered. And unfortunately, there are these two bodies are still conflicting on it. As I'm talking to you now, in the history of IT in Nigeria, as far back as 2008, there was a meeting held where some accreditations that were done by CPN then on some courses in institutions in Nigeria that was not acceptable in the public service because Ministry of Estab did not, was not the one that did it, was rectified. Then, where they agreed in a meeting that all those accredited courses must be taken over and must be used, are allowed to be used in the public sector. But as I'm talking to you now for almost 15 years, nothing, that information is not given to the public. That is one. Then two, in the area of IT cadre.
Sorry, I want to get, so you are saying that what's take content duplication? Is that what your question is?
Yes. Okay. Then two, in this country, IT cadre issue has become so big problem that many people have died without even being and having enjoyed their efforts so far, so much on what they have achieved certificate-wise. And that has been rectified more than 15 years ago by the standard of the government. As we are talking today now, that we have a lot of people that are not recognized in their working place, even carrying their certificates simply because IT cadre is still held down by Ministry of Estab. That is another. Then also in the area of advocacy, sir, I want to appreciate the effort of NIDA and also collaboration with CPN. But both NIDA and CPN, as regulatory arm, I don't think you have up to 10,000 staff in Nigeria. Two of the body matched together. The strength of advocacy lies with Nigeria Computer Society. And it is therefore expected that you need to collaborate effectively with Nigeria Computer Society where the population of the professional lies to ensure that advocacy get to the grassroots. I think that is another point I want to make there. Then also, most of the job that are being done by by NIDA, I have a feeling that a lot of professionals in this body that are supposed to be participating in those jobs are not getting access to it because the professional strength lies with us, but the political power lies with you. That is the fact. So I want to see how NIDA will ensure that not the people that are politically strong to carry their portfolio to NIDA without professional backing will be given the job. Let the professionals here, let them enjoy it. Let them participate in this job. It's very, very important because the professionals cannot be, suffering while we see the political people who enjoy to the bank every day on regular basis. We are creating crisis on that. So I want us to look into that as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have more other point, but let other people talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see you are clapping heartily. Now the thing is this. When the presentations were made, the DG talked, Dr. Agu talked, we talked about, let me just mention one thing, the issue of IT clearance. Even if you are talking about jobs in NIDA are just a microcosm of the jobs, IT jobs in MDAs. We're making things available for the NCS, for the professionals. We mentioned here that when MDAs try to give out jobs, whether it is foreign jobs or even local jobs, we always insist, part of the process includes that we want to see the people that are going to be part of implementing the project. And we ensure that those people must be registered members. I mean, they must be professionals, registered professionals, before they can participate and before we can give them clearance. So that's one of the ways that we're doing. I mean, we're trying to ensure that professionals, right, get things from the sector, get things from the government. So I guess it's just a misunderstanding because really we're trying to make sure that the professionals, for example, she talked about the banking sector. Right now, a whole lot of money is going out to foreign professionals. And we're trying to make sure it's repatriated back so that members of this society, members of CPN, are the ones that will benefit from it. So really, if we have something that comes out in NIDA, feel free to apply. You'll be surprised you'll get it, honestly. So that's my take. I want to get some comments from the director of CPS. He wants to say some things as well.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Femi Adeloye. I will start. I think this is an interesting topic. Not quite long. There was an announcement by NIDA that NIDA wanted to carry out the registration of contractors in the ICT sector. There was a bit outcry. People started complaining. There were a lot of big misunderstanding. This is actually the reason why NIDA wanted to carry out registration, to create a database of all our ICT professionals and companies identifying their areas of specialization. NIDA wrote letters to NCS, let me use one. NIDA wrote letters to stakeholders to give us their database so that we house it in NIDA under the office of the ONC, such that when MDAs come for clearance, we go through some of those project components, we refer to the database and tell them, gentlemen, you say this is not done in Nigeria. No, so company can offer this service, go and meet them. That's actually the main reason. Now, the issue of qualification that was raised, NIDA currently understands that there is a bit of disharmony when it comes to especially ICT curriculum. The first retreat that was organized by the Ministry of Communication in Ibadan here, issue was raised with issue of curriculum. So NIDA currently is championing that course, but I have to point out a couple of things. We are regulators, we also have other regulators. We try to collaborate. NUC regulates the tertiary institutions. We regulate the IT sector. And then we also have other stakeholders like CPN, NCS, and also the National Educational Research Council as well. So, and we also have the MBTE, National Board for Technical Education. So it's an ongoing process where we want to put a stakeholders forum where we discuss at least the minimum standard for our IT curriculum in the country. Some are still doing Fortran. I'm not saying Fortran is bad. Some are still doing COBOL. Then the other schools, some are doing already C# programming. They are doing Python and so on. There's need to have a minimum standard in line with the current trends, such that we can develop what they call marketable professionals. So it is an ongoing process which we hope to do. Of course, we'll partner with NCS and other stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agu. I would like to get some comments from the TA as well.
Okay, just to buttress on what Dr. Agu said, I just want to touch on 2 points. Firstly, on standard. Yeah, in NIDA, yes, we know where we are, where we want to go. Then what we do now, we are trying to adopt some IT standard and best practices. We want to domesticate it in our own environment, then we push it to the industry in general. Then on the involvement on CPN and other professional bodies on what we do, yes, I agree with the speaker. We need to do more. It's like we do things in silos now. We need more synergy to achieve what we want to achieve. But however, the way we look at it, NIDA has the mandate based on NIDA's Act to achieve most of what we do, while CPN also and NCS, they have their own power, but there is a need to work together to achieve that. But who will lead that? And maybe we need to agree on maybe setting up maybe a committee between the bodies to agree on some other things before we make pronunciation on it. But the most important thing is to set our goals and agree on key initiatives we need to implement to close the gap between where we are and where we want to go. Then also, just recently, as part of our local content, we mandated multinationals to be employing the professional in Nigeria, like part of the one of the executive order the president signed said that multinational cannot bring in expatriate unless if there is no that expertise in the country. So NIDA is trying to enforce that executive order as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Our time is fast spent, but I promise that we'll take a woman. So we'll just take one last question. Thank you.
Good morning.
I'm so sorry. I'm the moderator for this session, but I have a chief moderator that has sent word to me to cut it off. Sorry about that.
Good morning. My question is actually directed to the...
Okay, sorry, your name, ma?
My name is Miriam.
Okay.
Some time ago, I think last year, NIDA launched an indigenous IoT platform.
Yes.
Which is quite laudable from NIDA, especially that most people are actually involved in software development.
Okay, okay. So, yes. The Oga at the top has given me the opportunity of having 2 more questions after her. So please. Who, please? Sir? Okay, Chief Ayodele is one of them and one more person. And the person behind. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Who? Okay.
Dr. Aki Lade.
You have a question, ma? Okay.
I thought you were complaining.
Okay. Thank you. So, Chief Ayodele and the person behind and Madam. Please go ahead, ma.
Okay. Back to my question. I said some time ago, I think last year,
yes.
NIDA launched an indigenous IoT platform,
yes.
which is quite laudable, considering that most people are actually involved in software development.
Yes.
Now, my 2 questions are, what is the plan on capacity building for the youth, especially those in the tertiary institutions? Then secondly, has there been any pilot deployment to solve any specific challenge or problem in Nigeria in terms of flooding or the security issues? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Agu. IoT, the IoT platform.
Thank you very much, Mariam. Well, I mentioned previously that an indigenous IoT platform was designed and launched in NIDA, taking into consideration our own peculiarities, because one of the challenges of not having some of your hardware platform is that you may have what they call undocumented features. Some of the switches we are using today, the routers, that are all imported from China, they could have what they call backdoors. We know what happened in the AU. I don't know how many of you are aware of that. The AU building was donated by the Chinese. It was equipped by the Chinese people, and it was discovered that there was a huge backdoor where most of the data was being relayed back to China, absolutely. Now, for you to have security, there's need for you to have your indigenous capacity as well, where from day one, you already understand what the source code is made of, or you have the ability to carry out what they call the forensic analysis of source code. That's number one. Now, the IoT platform that was developed in NIDA, there are plans to, in collaboration with some partners, to use it for pilot projects to solve certain, pressing problems. I think I mentioned the issue of flooding in Benue Basin and Lagos. We're looking at that area because during all the outputs of our monthly paper presentation, NIDA actually finance it to a great extent to see it to a positive conclusion. Now, for capacity development, it is very, very key for us to build capacity in our youths in line with the emerging trends. Because if you don't do it, they cannot carry out active participation. For example, IoT will be worth over $19 trillion by the year 2025. So if you don't build capacity in those areas, for youths especially, that means they will not be playing active participation. Now, to answer your question more, we hope to carry out capacity development using that very platform in tertiary institutions, which I mentioned about the NYCs we have trained before in the camp. But this is just the beginning. We hope to go around the tertiary institution, if you provide some of these boards as interventions. That means we can provide as an educational kit in emerging technology to some of these academia or tertiary institutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Chief Ayodele, please can you ask your question, sir?
Thank you. Let me first say that I'm quite impressed that we have the DG of NIDA here today. I've attended a number of our programs where we expect him, and he never shows up. To have him here today is impressive, and commending him, I want to say we want to see him more in our midst. Now, on your intervention, maybe my question is directed now to Dr. Agu. On this intervention thing, NIDA has spent quite a lot of money setting up facilities in various areas of Nigeria, in many local governments. There are interventions. But I wonder if NIDA has targets that they are looking for, you know, the number of people they want to have trained, and how do they get feedback on this? Whether those facilities are being used, how well they are being used, and what are the kind of skills that have been learned from these facilities. In other words, I'm talking about what is the return on investment that NIDA can tell this nation that after spending so much and putting these intervention facilities here and there, these are the number of people we have trained this year, last year, over a period of time. Yes, that is the follow-up issue that I'm really raising. I'm raising this follow-up issue in terms of the feedback that they can tell the nation, after spending so much, this is the number of people we have actually trained. And how does NIDA follow this up on daily, weekly, monthly basis? Because there are facilities to do that. There are facilities to do that. You can know who are the people working on at each center, and how much time are they spending and what are they learning. That's my issue.
Thank you very much. He wants you to answer. It's just that we didn't have time to go through the slides. There were some stats there, and we can share it with you afterwards. Well, Dr. Agu, make some comments.
Well, I think I deeply appreciate this very, very question, because most of the time, it's not actually how many projects you deploy, it's actually the impact you're making. So it's a very laudable question. Let me start with, a couple of things I've mentioned here. We trained over 740 people in open source technology, okay, as part of a NIDA capacity development intervention. And then with respect to some of the intervention we are deploying, for example, Digital Job Creation Center, you see, we cannot be in the comfort of a metropolitan area like Ibadan until we are driving ICT. So we believe strongly that the only way we can beat our chest and feel that we have made an impact is when we drive ICT to the grassroots. And especially considering the fact that a big chunk of the population, they live in the rural area. So that is why, for example, we deployed over 86 digital capacity building centers. And coming back to your question, then we also deployed up to at least 80 digital job creation centers. One is to train you to be digitally literate. The other one is to use your knowledge now to start making money or making a living, absolutely. Now, there goes your question. How do you carry out monitoring and evaluation, to be more precise? We have a special office in NIDA called the Project PMU, Project Management Unit, where all our interventions that are deployed, we have direct contact with them. From time to time, we send inspectors, to carry out inspection for many reasons. The first reason could be that a couple of, maybe the connectivity, I'll give an example. Most of the connectivity, we deploy connectivity we offer free internet service, VSAT internet services for a year. And then sometimes there could be a windy situation where some of the dishes could be shifted, internet stops working, then we get a call, have to go there. So you go in there and I'll try to evaluate whatever activity is going on there. Now, we have a special relationship with NYSC under their SAID program, Skills Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development. And the discussion we're having now with them is that let's create a business model, we're telling them, where we will come into your camp, build some digital capacity, some of these youth capacity, deploy them into all these interventions in the rural areas now, so that they can train more people. So the answer is that we have not reached to where we will actually, we've not gotten to our final destination. It's an ongoing process. So by next year, 2019, we hope to deploy at least NYSC members to most of these rural areas, and then give them certain support so that they can build capacity in those areas. Now, our intervention like Wide Area Network, we have done over maybe 5 in campuses. And if you take an average population, since you want figure, I'll give you a typical example. Maybe I take University of Enugu State University of Science and Technology, where they have a minimum of 5,000-6,000 people, because they collocate with the Institute of Management and Technology. You're talking of over close to 19,000 people having access to the wide area network that is deployed there. This is just one station. Then you look at other universities who also, carry that intervention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll take the last question, but before that, there's a question on the screen. Please, what is NIDA doing in the academia in terms of increasing our capacity? Now we have a program with the directors of IT in universities, where we'll come together, we identify research areas, we see how we can collaborate, and how we can showcase those research products either at fora like GITEX or in Nigeria. So we'll have an ongoing collaboration with them. That's what we'll do. So we'll identify areas and then we can build capacity for them in those areas, especially in the areas of emerging technologies like Dr. Agu shared. Thank you. Last question, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Oladipupo. I sincerely want to commend the efforts of NIDA through the DG. And my sincere prayer is that the foundation you are laying now, that your successor will be able to build on it. Recently, in my place of work, I'm a civil servant. They organized like a pre-retirement training for people that are retiring in my place of work. So after that, they showed them around, they told them the business they can do after retirement. And I engaged one of them in conversation that this thing they are showing you, I believe that the best time to prepare to start a company of a whole is when you have alternative income. And his response was that as a civil servant, you're only allowed to go to practice agriculture, to go into agriculture. And I told myself that me, I'm not into agriculture, I'm more of IT person. So I was not like, what will happen after 30, 35 years in service? You now go back to IT that I've dropped, that I've not been practicing because the government does not allow me to do that while in service. So I'm looking at, mine is like an appeal that, if possible, because one of the focal points of NIDA is regulation and legislation. If possible, if we can have them push a legislation that will allow civil servants to practice software programming while in service, so that they can probably add to the IT development of the country. Because many times if you look at some of these expatriates come to the country to collect a so-called contract, you see them retire they retire from civil service. Probably I think that their government encourage them to go into some of these practices.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll take that question. The first one is that, well, they say you can do agriculture. You're an ICT person, so you can do e-agriculture, I think so, right? That's one. But on a more serious note, now, the head of service there's this project management teams that are supposed to help to reform the service. And the good news is that NIDA is part of it. We're part of the innovation team, the project management team for innovation. And what you have said now is something we're looking at that, why is it not possible for people that, you have capacity while you're in service? Why can't you use it for consultancy and so on legally? So that is still in the process, and when it is sorted out, we'll be able to get back to you on that. Thank you very much. Okay, so somebody sent in a question. MSc and PhD training programs. Please, what is the modality for selection? Simple. You just apply. Like the DG said, it's 100%, on merit. So the first people, so if we're taking 2 or 3 or more, the first in those states are given. So it comes out about every August or so. Next month, yeah. We're going to publish it. So you just apply, and then if you are shortlisted, you come for exam, and that's it. Thank you.
So, good morning once again. On behalf of myself and my colleagues from the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, I want to use this opportunity once again to thank our friends at the Nigeria Computer Society for this opportunity to make this presentation. We are thankful and most appreciative. And secondly, as I say it in the course of my presentation, that NCS is a strategic partner of NIDA. Nigeria Computer Society is a key stakeholder in IT industry. There is no question about this. That is why whenever I'm invited to NCS event, I always try to be there in person. Why? Because you cannot do it alone. You need to work with other professionals and be successful. And that is why I always try to create time, out of no time, to attend the events I am invited. And secondly, I always try to inform NCS about our activities, get their input where necessary, and this will continue. Furthermore, as they say, no matter how good you are, there is always room for improvement. I personally encourage NCS and NIDA to improve on their relationship, which I think is also very important. At NIDA, no question about this. We are willing to continue to partner and work with NCS and transform the IT sector in the country. And I believe that NCS is also willing to continue to work with NIDA. And furthermore, many of our colleagues here raised some questions, and most of them were responded by my colleagues from my own team. Some issues are not very relevant to our mandate. If something is not your mandate, there is a limit to what you can do. You may wish to escalate or contact the relevant agency or department and advise. That is the best you can do. But you cannot pursue anything that is outside your mandate. So because of this, some issues are not relevant to us. But I assure you that I will contact the relevant agencies and advise them on what to do on that. And in addition, at least a brother here raised an observation about how the two bodies can come together, and he also even complained about maybe some professionals being patronized in NIDA. Firstly, all our doors are open for all stakeholders. Secondly, there are many things that if you want to be successful, they must be done on merit. This is an example like Dr. Falilat. She joined NID a few months ago. She was in the UK. I have never seen her. There was a vacancy she saw, and she applied. I have never seen her, and she's now part of the system. Why? Because she got that opportunity on merit. So if it is something on merit, what you need to do, try to see that you fulfill all the conditions. If the conditions are fulfilled, then for sure you could get it. Because many people may apply for it. And if 10 people qualify for it and there is only one, for sure one may qualify, but maybe someone has an added advantage over him. And there are many examples I can give you like this. There are many examples where people will apply for something. We have never seen them in any way possible, but their papers qualify them and they got it. I can give you over 20 examples here, but I'm not here for that. So whatever you know is in NIDA and it requires some conditions, go ahead and fulfill all the conditions, apply, and put your trust in Almighty. I assure you, you will be successful. Once again, thank you very much for the opportunity.
A round of applause for NIDA. We'd like to thank the DG NIDI, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Batami, DG NIDA, Director CPS, Dr. Agu Collins Agu, the head of R&D, our brother Dr. Femi Adelui, the EcoSet Development Manager, Dr. Falila Jima, and of course the TA to DG, Kashif Inwa Ibrahim. I think NIDA deserves a round of applause one more time. Obviously, DG, you will notice that questions keep coming. Even as we sit down, questions still keep coming. I think there's a lot of misgiving between NIDA and the industry, and this communication will help to resolve some of those issues. So the DG has given me an assurance that even after this session, they will still be around till tomorrow. So there's a NIDA standard there. So all of the questions you have sent in, they'll be too willing to answer those questions. So after this session, during break and after, please approach the NIDA stand over there, ask all of the questions, and the DG himself is still around till tomorrow. So beyond this formal engagement, see him on the road, see him by the corner, and have conversations with him. On this note, I'd like to thank the president of NCS for keeping company of NIDA, and please give them a round of applause as they leave the podium. Please, the president of NCS will lead the DG NITRA and other members of NIDA delegation back to their seats. Give them one more round of applause. Please, let's have the good photograph here. President says, please lead the dinner delegation here so that I can have the good photograph. Let me invite the next set of people to the high table. The next session starts now, and I am going to invite to the high table the Managing Director of SIDMAC, Nigeria PLC. You think it's better here? A round of applause one more time for NIDA. Thank you so much. Thank you, DG, Director of CPS, Head R&D, EcoSet Development Manager, TA DG's Office, and President NCS. Let me now invite Rex. Rex will take the next session. Rex, please come to the podium. The next session was meant to have started at 11 for us to finish at 1, but we are 1 hour behind schedule now. But I trust Rex to handle this section so that at least if you are going to shoot, beyond 1, it will be a few minutes. Give a round of applause for Rex. Rex, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. The next plenary session, which we're starting now, and this will take us for the next 1 hour. So we'll try as much as possible to end by 1. We have to do justice to inclusive innovation, digital opportunities, capabilities, and culture. We have the following discussants. First is the Managing Director of SIDMAC Technologies Nigeria Limited, who will be represented by Mr. Olasoji Ajayi, Divisional Operations Manager, ICT Infrastructure. Do we have him in the hall? Okay. Please, let's put our hands together for him. I'm sure you know that SIDMAC is one of our corporate sponsors, and They will be making a presentation on the role of fourth industrial revolution technologies in advancing inclusive development. Second on that list, we have Professor Charles Korede Ayo. Do we have him in the house? He's a former Vice Chancellor of Covenant University, and he will be speaking on e-voting and digital inclusion, election 2019, and the future. Please, let's put our hands together for Professor Ayo again. I'm sure after his presentation, INEC will have a better solution to deploy in 2019 and beyond on e-voting, even though the government has made it clear that e-voting will not be used for 2019 election. Also to join them at this other side of the divide is Professor Patience Akpan Obong. She is of the Faculty of Leadership and Interdisciplinary Sciences, Arizona State University. And she will be speaking on enabling digital inclusion through policy and research, current landscape barriers and opportunities. We have Professor Patience. Let's put our hands together for her. And lastly is Victoria Etimbasi. Is a software developer with system specs. She codes and innovates for the digital economy, rural and urban. Do we have her here? Okay, let's encourage her. And to chair this session is no other person than the Director of IT from Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mr. Kola Okwala, FNCS. Please let's encourage Mr. Kola here. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Chairman. And again, we are spending 1 hour for this session, so it is expected by 1 o'clock we'll be rounding up this session. Thank you, sir.
The President, Nigeria Computer Society, elders of the profession, and all the fellows, elders of the profession, and all members of the profession. Good morning, I greet you all. The topic that we are having in this session, inclusive innovation, is a very salient topic. We missed the first 3 industrial revolutions. The first one was driven by the use of steam engine for mechanization, and that started in the United Kingdom. The second industrial revolution utilized electricity for mass production. The third industrial revolution utilized information technology for automation. We are at the brink of the fourth industrial revolution that uses disruptive digital technologies, such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and we also have other technologies like quantum computing, biotechnology, energy storage, which has powered things like electric cars and machines that learn on their own without programming. That is, a lot of things that we thought were impossible, that we only read in science fiction,
are now becoming possible. When we were still in school, a lot of stakeholders and experts said that a computer can never beat a human being in chess. But now this is a reality. So I will not take much of your time. We are going to impose time discipline on ourselves so that we'll be able to finish by 1 o'clock. So I will call on the first presenter, Otumba APS Arugundade, MD, Sidmark Technology, ably represented. So each presenter will have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol. My name is Olasoji Ajayi. I am speaking on behalf of my MD, Otumba APS Arugunade, who is unavoidably absent. I have 10 minutes to run through about 16 slides, so I would have to be a bit, I have to rush. Now, the paper is on the role of fourth industrial revolution technologies in advancing inclusive development. Next slide. Let's first start with the history of industrial revolutions. The fact that we have, thank you. The fact that we have a fourth industrial revolution means that we must have had the first three. Now, the first one started with the advent of the steam engine. That is what powered the factories. Before then, most things were carried by man and beast. This led to the era of factories. So it made a lot of people able to get involved in production, which without the steam engine would not have been made possible. Before then, people with upper body strength are the ones that are required to produce. But now you have even women, especially in the textile manufacturing industry at that time, a lot of women were able to get involved in production because most of the power is being given by the steam engine. And this time, a factory at that time is also a power generating plant because the steam engine has to be where the factory is. Next slide. Oh. Okay. The second period was that of mass production. This was when electricity took off. This was when gasoline engines took off. So there was a lot easier. Energy was portable. Factories could be located in places where they could get energy from elsewhere. This led to a lot of innovation because energy was more portable that time. So a lot more people got involved in production. Next. This is not working. Okay. I did it now. Okay. Yeah. So the third revolution is the age of the internet. That was when the semiconductors came up. This was when computers took off. And then we had the information age. We had people that were producing based on the information. We had people that can work in places that is different from the traditional factories. So we had teleworkers, information workers, people who had disabilities could sit down in their house and then work for a company thousands of miles away. Then we have the fourth. Hello? Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. So then we have the fourth industrial revolution. Quickly, the fourth industrial revolution builds on the digital revolution, finding new ways in which technology becomes embedded within societies and even the human body. The fourth industrial revolution is marked by emerging technologies, breakthroughs in a number of fields, including robotics, artificial intelligence, big data. These technologies have great potential to connect billions more people to the web drastically and improve the efficiency of businesses and help regenerate the natural environment. Next slide. Next. So let's talk about the technologies that came up with the fourth revolution. We had big data, we had smart cities, we had blockchain, artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, I would say, is probably the most important of the technologies that came with the fourth industrial revolution. I'll be talking more about the advantages of artificial intelligence as we go. Blockchain made possible a lot of technologies that will cut off the middleman. The Bitcoin is one example. It made just about anybody to be involved in a financial transaction. You don't need to own a bank. There is no high barrier to entry. There is no central authority to determine who gets what and who does not. All you need is internet access, a few Bitcoins, and you can do any business transaction as you want. So we had fintech, or we also have robotics. No. So what is inclusive development? Now, inclusive development ensures that all marginalized and excluded groups are stakeholders in the development process. UNDP maintains that many groups are excluded from development because of their gender, ethnicity, age, sexual orientation, disability, or poverty. The effect of such exclusion, rising levels of inequality around the world, development, therefore, cannot effectively reduce poverty unless all groups contribute to the creation of opportunities, share the benefits of development, and participate in decision-making. Consequently, the goal of inclusive development is to achieve an inclusive society able to accommodate values diversities. So, what are the roles that technology will play in inclusive development? Now, next slide. Now, progress in technology is essential to economic growth and development. And the more advanced the technology available, the more quickly the local and global economy improve. Technology is required to make a lot of people that were marginalized able to access development, able to be involved in development. Now, there are several attributes that technology has that we can use to advance inclusive development. Next slide. Now, we have optimal use of natural resources. In the developing countries like Nigeria, technology can help to utilize more optimally our abundant natural resources like land, minerals that are not currently being used. Better use of capital, saving of time, and specialization. Next slide. We have improvement in quality. Technology also helps in improve the quality of goods and services. Principally, it can help to standardize production and consumption. Industries can now expand because the industries, as the new technologies, makes a lot of different industries to spring up. Of course, there are some industries that will also die as a result of technology advancement, but a lot new industries are springing up, a lot new fields of studies are springing up, giving opportunities for people to study and get new skills in doing other things. Improvement in labor inefficiency. When you have man and machine working together, the improvement in labor it's much, much higher than when you have just man. Then international trade. Connectivity has made the world a global village. You can sit down in your house and be earning money from countries that you are actually not in. There are people who are in Nigeria, but majority of their income is coming from, say, USA or India. Next slide. Now, improvement in research, increase in national income, development at all sectors. These are the things that will be as a result of technology in the fourth industrial technology in advancing inclusion. Next slide. Now, at SIDMAC, we have discovered that to develop the nation, we need to get all people, young, old, rich, poor, male, female, connected to be able to tap the technology that is available so that we can use it to better ourselves. In education, we are building solutions that would allow all types of schools, big schools, small schools, all have access to technology. Okay. All have access to the same type of technology that the big schools have access to. You do not need to set up extensive infrastructure. Whether it's a school with 5 people or a school with 100,000 people, you still have access to all these technologies, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, everything that is available for the school. Also, businesses. We are helping businesses to optimize their solutions using newer processes, emerging technologies to make their solutions faster. We are also developing platforms to aid agricultural production. There is a lot that we need to do in agric, and we know that most of our farmers are subsistence farmers. They need access to technology just as much as the big farmers also do. But there is the barrier to entry, the high barrier to entry is an issue. We are building solutions that would make just about any farmers have access to the same type of technology that the big ones have. Quickly, we are working with government regulators and other stakeholders to accelerate technology adoption using cloud services, custom solutions, and we are collaborating with leading global partners to make this technology hide the complexity and make it available to just about anybody. Permit me to show a video that would be as an example of what fourth industrial revolution technology can do to enhance the productivity of a person with disability. Next slide. Volume. There's no audio.
And that's where it was introduced to talking computers, and that really opened up a whole new world of opportunities. I joined Microsoft 10 years ago as a software engineer. I love making things which improve people's lives. And one of the things I've always dreamt of since I was at university was this idea of something that could tell you at any moment what's going on around you.
I think it's a man jumping in the air doing a trick on a skateboard.
I teamed up with like-minded engineers to make an app which lets you know who and what is around you. It's based on top of the Microsoft Intelligence APIs, which makes it so much easier to make this kind of thing. The app runs on smartphones, but also on the Pivot Head smart glasses. When you're talking to a bigger group, sometimes you can talk and there's no response, and you think, is everyone listening really well, or are they half asleep? And you never know.
I see two faces, 40-year-old man with a beard looking surprised, 20-year-old woman looking happy.
The app can describe the general age and gender of the people around me and what their emotions are, which is incredible. One of the things that's most useful about the app is the ability to read out text.
Hello, good afternoon. Here's your menu.
Great, thank you. I can use the app on my phone to take a picture of the menu, and it's going to guide me on how to take that correct photo.
Move camera to the bottom right and away from the document.
And then it'll recognize the text. Read me the headings.
I see appetizers, salads, paninis, pizzas, pastas.
Hi. Years ago, this was science fiction. I never thought it would be something that you could actually do, but artificial intelligence is improving at an ever faster rate, and I'm really excited to see where we can take this. As engineers, we're always standing on the shoulders of giants, building on top of what went before. And in this case, we've taken years of research from Microsoft Research to pull this off.
I think it's a young girl throwing an orange frisbee in the park.
For me, it's about taking that far-off dream and building it one step at a time. I think this is just the beginning.
Application, it's called Seeing AI. It's actually available now. That man is a developer with Microsoft. There's a lot we can do. It's on, I think, iPhone in App Store, but I'm not sure about Android. And he's a productive member of the society. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. So I will call on the next presenter, Professor Charles Korede-Ayo, to give us a presentation on e-voting and digital inclusion, election 2019, and the future. So, Prof. Korede.
Thank you. My presentation, please. I want to start by appreciating my dear President NCS for helping me to stage a comeback to this society, my rightful place, after a long time of absence. Thank you, sir. I've come to stay. And I want to recognize the elders in the house. It's been quite a while, and I think it's worthy of commendation how far you have sustained this society. God bless you, real good. My professional colleagues here present, and not forgetting the DG NITDA. Sir, I want to especially appreciate you for the support you have given my university. I know we are in partnership, and on a yearly basis, you've always supported my center, talking about the Center for E-Governance and E-Business. And appreciating my dear sister Pat, we are in it together. Thank you. Yes, I'll be talking to you on, oh, you have to do it for me? Okay. On e-voting and digital inclusion election 2019 and the future. I've appreciated you. Okay, good. Yes, I have a lot of slides, so that means I have to make my presentation in a fly. Ladies and gentlemen, at the turn of this millennium, we had this buzzword, digital divide, talking about the gulf between demographics and regions that have access to ICT and those that do not. MDGs come and gone without our nation being able to fulfill any of the goals. Now we have the SDGs with 17 goals, as well as the African agenda with 7 initiatives, and all of them are talking about connected communities and citizens, thus leading us to the next buzzwords, digital inclusion. And we're simply talking about building a digitally inclusive communities that guarantee everyone digital access, digital literacy, and digital enablement. Luckily, we have the team from NIDA. They've done justice to this. I have to manage my time well. And so next, I'll be talking about the route towards enhancing digital inclusion, talking about providing access to public technology in terms of hardware, software, high-speed internet connectivity within localities. We heard from NIDA that they are doing something along this line, providing access to digital content, social governance, democracy, business, education and banking, providing digital literacy services, advocacy and training on the use of ICTs, and again, providing applications and services as contained there. The above will help us to assess as a nation where we are talking about digital inclusion. So looking at equity as against divide, which is the ultimate goal, talking about digital inclusion, describes a situation where all individuals and communities have the ICT capability necessary for full participation in the society, democracy, and the economy. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to skip these statistics. Let me just go to the latest ranking talking about digital inclusion, but this is restricted to that of the internet. The body started last year with about 75 countries, and this year with about 86 countries, with the ranking parameters based on availability, affordability, relevance, and readiness. And this is the way we are. With Sweden coming first, Singapore second, US third, UK 9. And in Africa, we have South Africa coming first and 39th in the world. Next, Morocco 53 in the world, second in Africa. Egypt, Nigeria coming fourth, 56 in Africa, Kenya and the likes. But that is to say that among these 86 bodies, we only have 24 countries from Nigeria. How did we stand? As in Nigeria, Nigeria ranked 71st out of 86. I'm sure this is of concern on availability, meaning there is need for more investment in infrastructure, particularly the broadband, and ranked 17 overall on affordability and number 1 in Africa. And I want to attribute this to the mobile data that we have around and the high level of diffusion of the mobile technology. 57th out of 86 on relevance, meaning there is need for more involvement of practitioners talking about the local content, and 55 on readiness, the need for us to do more on literacy. And talking about digital inclusion, my mind just goes to situating what we are talking we're doing, the e-government model, either government to government, government to business, government to citizen, which is e-democracy. I'm sure we can start by concentrating our efforts on developing an e-democracy system, talking about e-participation, e-panel, e-petition, e-polling, e-consultation, and that is where we have e-voting, just to situate what I'm talking about. Let's have a look about e-voting adoption in the world. Basically, around the world, we have some levels of implementation, either wholly or partly. And looking at the available e-voting systems, we have the polling station e-voting, that is talking about the voting machine put at the polling booth, and again, the remote e-voting systems. Here we can be generally talking about all the electronic devices, but here we can be specific to say internet voting, mobile voting, television voting, and ubiquitous voting. It will interest my colleagues from the academia, though right now the most prominent of this is internet voting. But for research purposes, we can begin to look at how to make mobile voting possible, as well looking at the ICT convergence, and a number of us having this digital television at home. It means we can do a lot on that. And this is just to tell us the evolution of the voting from manual to polling station to the internet. The poster, that's, I think, very popular in the US in the past, I'm not sure, is still the trend. This is the recent trend that I have from my literature search, looking at a number of countries that have adopted e-voting, the type, as well as the number of elections where they have been used and the challenges they have had. we can see a country like Estonia, purely internet voting, is being used since 2005 and is being used in up to 6 elections just along the line. We have some lessons to learn from a number of countries, but time will not permit me here. We know the US is a mixed system because that's where we're talking about true federalism. Nobody is coerced to adopt in any system. They still go manual in some county, but again, looking at the number of challenges they've had in the past, they are listed here. Brazil has done well talking about the development of an electronic voting machine and has been exported to countries like Argentina, Mexico. India is known to be the largest democracy with over 700 million voters on a regular basis, largely rural dwellers, with the number of political parties, about 60 and more. Let's look at the African experience. What we've had in most of our elections is e-registration, e-verification, and e-transmission to a certain extent. And with the exception of Namibia that adopted e-voting wholly by visiting, through the support of the World Bank, visited India and bought this machine. And if you look at the remark, a successful transformation from the traditional paper-based voting system to an e-voting system was implemented in a very transparent manner. But I have my proposal for Nigeria. Looking at Kenya, virtually at the same level with Nigeria, biometric voter registration, voter identification, vote transmission, but fraught with a lot of issues. Breakdown of biometric kits, server overloading, poor preparation, and power problem. The same thing with Ghana, but the problems better managed in Ghana. Nigeria, the same thing. We are all living witnesses to the last that we had. Thank you. Still breakdown of biometrics, underage voting, and ballot snatching, power problem, among others. I will just go straight to my design now. The future. Looking through all the electoral processes, where can we really adopt ICT? In registration of voters and parties, authentication of voters, the voting itself, tallying of ballot, transmission of result. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I woke up 2009, pulled out my wallet, and I found out barrage of ID cards. My national ID, my voter ID, driver ID, and series of ATM. Then a thought came. Why couldn't I develop a unified identity system? And that was what led to this research, funded by my university then. Yes, creating a data bank containing the union of all the fields containing all the cards without duplication. And we found it useful for face-to-face identification on the go, and in case of accidents, we added some features. That is the intersection of all the fields in there, talking about the carrier's ID, the passport, signature, name, gender, date of birth, driving class, blood group, height, and smart card chip. But this time around, we are proposing RFID, and we have done something that will be shown to you. This is a typical card with all the fields we have in there. I will show you the real card. Then we came up with this. With one single card, you could do voting, you could do anything that has to do with the driving, national identification, and with banking. Luckily, it came immediately after the bank reconsolidation exercise that one could number all the banks, either 1, 2, 3. So what we are saying, with your ID being RFID-based, it pops up your picture and other features. Your fingerprint will help to authenticate you, and then you go ahead to cast whatever vote or anything you intend doing. And with that, it will help to a large extent solving the issue of multiplicity of identity information, reducing the cost of producing cards by various agencies, and ease of generating voters lists. At least preceding any election is a situation of just querying those that are 18 years and above. A typical card is what we have here. Yes, this card If you carry it with road safety, whatever information needed is here. In case of accident, your blood group is there, and then a number of other things. And looking at the arrow, that is where we have the RFID, which tap and go, other things will come up. And let me conclude this by saying, what lessons have we learned from the Ekiti elections? 40 card readers, ballot snatching, financial inducement. We may not be able to do anything much. But luckily, while in office as VC, we introduced an attendance system, which is what we have here. This device is RFID NFC card. You tap and go. Your biodata is displayed. And in case we need to further authenticate, your fingerprint. So talking about fulfilling a three-factor authentication, what I have the card, what I am, I have my fingerprint, and what I know, my VIN. But it may not even be necessary at all. The card, which will bring out your biodata, the fingerprint to authenticate, you go right ahead to cast your vote. The only thing I'm working on here is this screen. Just to have a screen that will accommodate a lot of the political parties we have in here, and this will solve the problem of identification as well as voting. We just jump straight. I will leave my recommendation for conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, digital inclusion is a necessary condition for effective e-voting, e-democracy, and e-government implementation. Government should provide the infrastructure, broadband hardware power needed for enhanced digital inclusion index ranking, as we have seen. And it's going to be a huge capital flight for us as professionals here to lose the e-voting business to foreigners. It was not long ago in Abuja when they had a meeting concerning this. You can see how most of these foreigners flooded the venue with series of systems. But I tell you, before the next election, something good will have come out of this nation. What are we saying? With about 120 polling units, and if we create room for redundancy, let's say 50%, it means Nigeria will definitely buy up to 180,000 electronic voting machines. And looking at the smart card readers, again, available at the various booths, about 180,000. Looking at the personal voter's card, but now we are talking about national identity card that will double as this. That is, every Nigerian will be carrying this. The Ekiti election, we were told, was estimated to cost 600 million. And just this morning, we saw the request from the president to the House requesting to 242 billion naira. Should we come together with a system, I'm sure a greater part of that money should come to us. Something between at least 150 billion to 180 billion naira, and believe you me, that's a good business. So I'm just asking IT professionals to venture into politics and be a major player in decision making and implementation, rather than begging the issues. IT professionals should take advantage of the globalized economy to develop apps needed to enhance digital inclusion for individual benefits and the nation in general. I will emphasize this during the next slide. And I'll be expecting members of this profession to harness the various systems earlier developed by the Nigerian Society of Engineers, NIGE-COMSAT, and whatever thing we have to offer on this platform. And then we begin the advocacy as quickly as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, and to the students and my junior colleagues here present, we know Mark Zuckerberg is about the third richest in the world. Just because we are in a world with a total population of 7.7 billion, and he was able to capture just 2 billion of these users, and look at his net asset, $77 billion, where our whole country, our budget is just 24 billion. What am I saying in essence? There are available avenues where we can venture into and take advantage of the diffusion of ICT in Nigeria, in Africa, and in the world. Regardless of the shortcomings of e-voting, it's better than the manual system with several advantages. Finally, for the 2019 general elections, the tokenistic reform, talking about smart card and PVC, to me, I think it's a blessing in disguise. Because if it had taken place now, we will have witnessed nothing but capital flight. So while we take the center stage, preparatory to 2023 elections with full implementation, and local content. I want to appreciate you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Charles Korediayo, for that very wonderful presentation. We now move on to the third presenter, and the third presenter is Professor Patience Akpan Obong, Faculty of Leadership. And the topic is Enabling Digital Inclusion Through Policy and Research, Current Landscapes, Barriers, and Opportunities. Over now to you, Prof. Patience.
Thank you, and all existing protocol observed. But even as I observe that, I just want to thank the NSC President, my brother, Professor Shola, for inviting me here, and also thank the DG of NITDA, who has been really supportive of my research on ICT in Nigeria. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to start with the abstract. So if I run out of time, at least you know what next, the summary of what I have. Let's see, this thing needs to work. All right. Okay, if it's not working, can you guys help, please? Thank you. All right, okay. So the abstract, it's just like the theme of this conference, and a lot of the discourse on the diffusion of information and communication technologies in the context of developing countries seems to have shifted from talking about digital divide to talking about digital inclusion. And I suppose this is based on the notion that we've spent enough time talking about the divide without focusing on how we can close the divide and create an inclusion. So this presentation affirms the need to focus on inclusion. But also, I am arguing that achieving digital inclusion isn't sufficient by itself if other kinds of exclusions and divides continue to persist in the society. And so I want to start out by looking at some of the exclusions and exclusivities, because in that process we will understand who, what is excluded, and how we can bring the excluded into the discussion. And so this is outline of my presentation. Okay, first introduction, just general discussion about the different kinds of exclusions and exclusivity, the current landscape, which is part of my title. So kind of looking from Lagos to Gombe and the miles in between, digital inclusion, barriers and opportunities, and digital inclusion, the Edo State example. You will understand as I speak later why I'm choosing Edo State. Then the role of policy and research in achieving digital inclusion. And then finally, in my conclusion, I will focus on the topic of my paper. I used to be a journalist in my previous life, and one of the first things is like MassCom 101 was the 5 W's and H, which are essentially a framework for telling the complete story, understanding the complete story. And the 5 W's and H are what, why, when, where, and how. And in the context of this discussion, so the question is, who is excluded? What is excluded? Why the exclusion? When did the exclusion occur? Where is the exclusion occurring? And how is the exclusion occurring? Of course, the how question becomes a fundamental question in the context of digital exclusion. So this frame, the 5 W's and H, facilitates a systemic understanding of the issues of exclusions generally and digital exclusion specifically. And this will guide us into the arena of digital inclusion. So I looked at some of the areas of exclusion. Language. It's not just whether you can speak English or Yoruba or Hausa or Randang. It's essentially the kinds of jargons that IT experts tend to use. Oh, by the way, I have an open confession. I am not a computer scientist. I am a political scientist. So talking about disruptions, which that was a theme of yesterday's plenary panel. So I am disrupting everything here by being here. I should not be here. I'm a political scientist, but this is my second NSC conference, and a lot of people here have seen me in, I'm sorry, NCS, yes, not NSC, NCS. I know. See, the disruptions continue. Sorry, my brother, Mr. Tunde, sorry about that. All right, so this is my second NCS conference, and a lot of you here have seen me in all the IT circles in the country. So I am at home here, even though I am an orphan, as it were. But what I have seen is, and heard, a lot of jargons. You all speak as if there's a shared understanding, shared knowledge of the different jargons, the different abbreviations and all of that. When you do that, when you are here and you speak that language, it's okay because, again, you assume Mr. Tunde, my brother, understands what you're talking about. But when you go out there, when you're talking with your customers, your clients, your friends, your family members, and you cannot assume that shared language. When you speak that way, you exclude whether you do it intentionally or not. And the issue of physical disabilities, we don't talk a lot about that when we're talking about inclusions and exclusions, and though the NITDA panel kind of made reference to that. And the first speaker here in the video he presented towards the end of his presentation also addressed that to some extent. Again, we cannot talk about digital inclusions without looking at the physical inclusions and how the processes through which people living with physical disabilities are being excluded, doubly excluded from the process of, from the societal processes. So another area of exclusion is literacy. And we define literacy as the ability to read and write in any language. So not necessarily whether you have Western education, you can speak English or not. And all the data, statistics that are referred to from now on come from the 2006 Human Development Report. So according to that report, 59.6% of Nigerians are able to read and write in any language. So this means that 40.4% of the population is excluded, even just like basic literacy. And 85% of school-age children attend primary school, with 20% of them dropping out before they finish. And out of the remaining students or children who complete primary 6, only 44% continue on to the secondary school. So the question then is, what happens to those children who didn't continue on to secondary school? So when you're looking for where exclusion occurs, that is one place to look. And then there's age. Yesterday there was a lot of jokes about people, elderly people and all of that. We tend to assume that only young people do IT, only young people should be, so we wouldn't say only young people should be, but in the language we use and in our different practices, we assume that the elderly can be excluded or are already excluded. And then there's the gender. Of the 59.6% of literate Nigerians, 69.2% are male and 11% are female. That's across the country. I'm sure in different parts of the country, the numbers, the disparities are not that broad. So this automatically excludes a large swath of the population. For more on the gender-digital divide, you may be interested to look at an article that my colleague and I did titled Confronting the Gender Digital Divide. There's also the geographic and regional exclusions. A study of websites of 12 state governments, which I conducted last year, 6 states in the north and 6 states in the south, indicated that some states did not even have functional websites. One state, one northern state, did not have a website at all. And I did talk to the people in the state, and they admitted that they did not have an official government website. That's as at May 2017. And when I reached out to the different representatives of ICT department and the governor's offices, many of them did not respond. And so that's one area of exclusion, when people who work in ICT departments, who work in state governments, do not even know how to address information or questions that are sent to them. And so there are also all these concentrations of centers of excellence, like Ibadan is one, hubs, IT corridors, and that kind of creates a silo mentality in the sense that some parts of the country are digitally inclusive while others are not. And then income and employment. Some of these issues were addressed by one of the speakers yesterday. So I'll quickly move forward from there. But I want to say before I leave this slide that the notion of leapfrogging has been so romanticized for several decades. But we forget the fact that many technologies are built from pre-existing technologies, for instance, infrastructure and electricity. So while a lot of the ICTs have the capacity for leapfrogging, we still have to address the primary and fundamental technologies. So current landscape, at the federal level, NITDA has the core mandate to foster the development and growth of IT in Nigeria through implementation of related policies and setting guidelines for state and federal MDs and supporting research in the sector. The degree to which the mandate is achieved is outside the scope of my presentation, but good enough, we had a whole panel on NITDA. So I guess a lot of people would have drawn their conclusions on the degree of success in executing the mandate. And research on IT usage and applications by 36 MDs in Abuja was conducted in between 2015 and 2016 by me, and the research was partially funded by NITDA. And the objectives are there, why that research was conducted. You may wish to look at that later. But the results indicated that while a few MDs were innovative in the use of technologies to achieve their agency mandate, many lacked the capacity, the human capacity, the technological capacity, and the willingness to use ICTs or to integrate ICTs in their routine functionalities. And I've seen one of my people here, one of the ICT directors that I interviewed. He's here in the audience. So again, beyond that research, I also did research on some of the states. And the Commissioner for Science and Technology from Gombe was here yesterday. She and I, we've had interactions about the level of ICT development in her state. And Oyo, we were told throughout yesterday, is the center of excellence when it comes to ICT, and the governor is dubbed as a digital governor. So I can't say much about that. Benue State has done a lot of work in collaboration with NITDA in expanding ICT usage. Lagos has always been ahead in terms of ICT utilization in the government. Then there comes Edo. In 2015, I had the privilege of doing a kind of project evaluation in Edo State. All right. There's a lot about that too. And in 2009, when the governor administration of Oshomole came in, and he decided he was going to use ICTs to do a whole lot of things. And the objectives are there. And that research resulted in a book. That's the title of the book there. If you are interested, check it out. And so the Edo case, what were they trying to do? They were trying to address several areas of exclusions. And the list is there by adopting the characteristics of an open government: transparency, responsive governance, improved infrastructure, etc. All right, okay? And so now, what are the barriers?